What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty. Join my Discord if you want to chat and share your thoughts, the link is in the description. 5SK Chapter 101, Middle School Boy Bartolomeo, you guy. On the port. Smoker's blood surge. He glared at William, don't be too arrogant. White fist. The words have not yet finished. White smoke spewed out, and the clenched fist suddenly accelerated. He blasted towards William, however, I haven't had time to meet William yet. In an instant, Smoker's eyes bulged. It flew out like a cannonball. Bang! A 3-story building was directly hit and collapsed. The airwaves are billowing and the smoke is filling the air. Colonel Smoker, a Marine, was stunned and his expression changed drastically. Looking at William, who kept his kicking posture and slowly lowered his foot, he was at a loss. Even more frustrated, the other party is from 7 warlords of the sea. Without permission from above, they, Marine, cannot act accordingly. Arrogance also requires strength. William glanced at the ruins. Ignoring Smoker and these Marines, he led Robin, Reiju, Perona and others towards the town. Next, everyone is free to move around. Just return to the Ship of Terror before evening. Looking at the bustling town, William smiled and said directly. Perona, do you want to go shopping? Reiju asked. Since you can't resist, then just enjoy life happily. In the past 2 days, I have often practiced with Perona, and the relationship between them is not bad. What surprised her was that William had no intention of stopping her from taking the initiative to practice with Perona and others. 133. Even the swordsman Ryoma has no secrets at all. As a person transformed by blood factors, he relies on his super high physical fitness. In addition, he already has good combat effectiveness and his talent is not weak. She easily mastered the physical skills of shaving. Okay. Perona's eyes lit up. I want to buy some beautiful clothes. Look at Nika Robin, who often wears very fashionable outfits. She felt that she must be dressed too vulgarly. That's why Mr. William moved on and fell in love with someone else. Look down on her. Advertisement. I also want to see the execution platform where the legendary pirate King Roger was executed. Robin said with a smile. William, do you want to come with us? It's not interesting. I'm not interested in that. William shrugged. In fact, he has been to Logue Town a long time ago. I want to buy something, and I'm going to find someone by the way. You guys can go shopping on your own, he said directly. Hey, I want to buy a batch of medicinal materials, otherwise the potion that Lord William brews every day will not be enough. Hogbuba bared his teeth and said with a smile. Then let's disband first. 10 minutes later, a weapons store. The boss sold a knife and rubbed his hands with a smile on his face. Looking at the young figure carrying 2 knives, gradually going away, he said goodbye. Guest, go slowly. What a pity. Seeing something bad, I just took away the demon sword of 3rd generation Kitetsu. Watching William leave, he sold the sword and shook his head, and returned to the weapons store. I heard that the demon sword has a curse. Its previous owners had no good ending. He couldn't sell it at all, so he mixed it with ordinary swords and threw it into the basket. Unexpectedly, it was bought by William. We finally sold such unlucky things. Why do we care so much? The important thing is that we made money. The proprietress of the weapons store happily counted the money. I didn't expect that the legendary sword Snow can actually be sold for so much money. HMPH, you know the money. That's a good and fast sword that costs 50 cents, a famous sword that many swordsmen dream of but can't get, said Yidao hummed. You don't like money? The landlady put her hands on her waist and glared at her husband. Then you still sell the snowwalkers? Money is only one aspect. More importantly, he is a powerful swordsman, worthy of this sword, Ma Yidao said plausibly with his arms crossed. The landlady held the money, turned around and walked towards the 2nd floor. You are amazing, you are noble, don't go to my bed tonight. Is there such a good thing? When selling a knife heard this, he was a little overjoyed. Huh? What did you say? The landlady turned back, her eyes widened. I made a mistake. Honey, please don't do it. Well, these 2 famous swords are not as good as Ryoma's black sword, Shu Shui, but they are still so-so. On the street, William put 2 knives on his waist. I glanced at the marine personnel who were following far behind, pretending to be fine, and almost scared the man to the point of peeing. Thump. With a sneer, his eyes were slightly stern. A blast of Conqueror's Haki came out with unerring precision. In an instant, the marine suddenly foamed at the mouth and fainted. I ignored the suddenly panicked pedestrians. I asked people about it. CEDC. William turned left and right and came to a somewhat dark and shabby bar. A ferocious-looking young man with green hair and a coxcomb haircut was sitting there bold and grandiose, with several younger brothers waiting on him. There are 2 knives on his waist. William dressed as a swordsman. Naturally, it attracted the attention of many people in the bar. Advertisement next to the green-haired delinquent boy, a pretty-looking red-haired girl with a comb-shaped haircut and a somewhat unflattering look. Her eyes lit up. So handsome. Are you Bartolomeo? He glanced casually. William came directly to Bartolomeo. Orc. Boss Bador's name is something you can just call out. Our boss is in charge of dozens of streets, and he is a big shot in both black and white. A gangster who followed Bartolomeo glared at William. Why, I am Bartolomeo. Bartolomeo glanced sideways at William and asked casually. Are you here to pay homage to the peer, or do you want to come to plant a flag? In his opinion, the opponent was a little-known swordsman. It's nothing more than hearing something, trying to act bravely, wanting to put an end to violence, and come here to challenge myself. How can a villain like you be a half-hearted gangster? Come and be a pirate with me. William crossed his arms and spoke calmly. I've seen a lot of people like you, right? Bartolomeo said to himself, but his eyes widened suddenly, thinking he heard wrongly. Looking at William in astonishment, what did you say? Are you a pirate? On the side, Desire, Bartolomeo's childhood sweetheart, was also in a daze, looking at the other party in surprise. In this case, can you be clearer? William's eyes narrowed. The powerful conqueror's haki swept out. Thump, thump. In an instant, everyone in the bar, except Bartolomeo and Desire, all rolled their eyes and fainted. What? Bartolomeo and Desire's pupils shrank sharply. Staring blankly at William in front of him, lost my voice in disbelief. Do you want to follow me obediently, or should I knock you out and take you away? Looking at the two people in front of them who were shocked. William bowed first and then sent troops, and asked with a smile. Originally, he was only planning to take away Bartolomeo. But he recognized the girl who killed Matt next to him. Her name seemed to be Desire, right? As a hobby of collecting stamps, he took it along with him. Generally speaking, green plums are no match for falling from the sky. Gulu. Is he a person with the same abilities as Bador? Desire came to his senses. Swallowing, my back was soaked with cold sweat. But he still gritted his teeth and looked at William with vigilance, glaring angrily. Who are you? How could we just surrender and capture him? It's unbelievable, just one look can shock everyone else. But then, the next moment, in Desire's eyes full of black lines. Bartolomeo stared straight at William in front of him, with stars in his eyes. This is really, so handsome. Boss, I am willing to FO Chapter 102. Qingmei loses to the sky. Wow, so cool. 10 minutes later, on the terrifying ship. Bartolomeo and Desire followed William to come here. Looking at the huge, exaggerated ships on this island, as well as the legions of beasts and the pterosaurs patrolling back and forth, I couldn't help but shine. These are all zombies made by using the shadow fruit ability to plunder other people's shadows and implant them into human or animal corpses. William introduced there. You will neither feel pain nor fatigue. Zombie? Bartolomeo exclaimed. It's amazing, incredible. Looking around, Desire couldn't help but feel inexplicable. But this time, in the forest, there was a deafening voice. Is it dawn yet? It's not just Bartolomeo and Desire. On Logue Town, the civilians, business travelers, and pirates were secretly paying attention to the terrifying ship. Especially, those marine, everyone couldn't help but open their mouths. He stared blankly at the exaggerated figure that suddenly stood up from the forest, yawning and stretching like a demon. It was unbelievably huge. Cold sweat broke out immediately, somewhat apprehensive. $7. $7 trillion. Bartolomeo's eyes widened. He looked up at the huge figure of Demon Oz, which was 60 or 70 meters tall. Oh, this is. Desire was a little stunned. Don't be nervous, it's the Demon Oz, an ancient giant. It's bigger than the average giant. It's the strongest zombie king, William said with a smile. Seen, Bartolomeo and Desire both couldn't help but gasp. Such a powerful monster is actually a zombie? Hiss tilde hiss tilde hiss tilde. The strength of the Hell Pirates is beyond your imagination. Dr. Hogba Gu, who had just returned from purchasing a large amount of medicinal materials, said with a strange smile. Although it is unclear where William recruited these two young men. But he believed in this adult's vision, advertisement. Let me ask one more question. Looking at the shocked two people, William asked again. Are you sure you want to join the Hell Pirates? Bartolomeo nodded like a chicken pecking at rice. Ever since he had just seen William show Conqueror's hockey in the bar, he was young and passionate, and he had already become the opponent's fanboy. After following William on board the terror ship to visit. Even more so, I feel that the little fights I made in the past that were not on the stage are simply inferior. Then I'll join too, looking at William's handsome face. Desire's pretty face blushed slightly, and she also echoed. Then, you are welcome to join, William laughed. He looked at the sky and said directly, it's still early now, there's no rush. You go back and pack your luggage first and get ready. We will set off again before evening tonight. Yes, boss, no problem, hiss. And at this moment. On Logue Town, in a hidden high-rise building, with the help of a monocular telescope, he observed the scene on the terrifying ship. Looking at the ridiculously huge figure that made people feel numb, Smoker took a breath of air and said, there is such a monster on that Moria guy's ship? He said in a deep voice. Report the news immediately. Yes, Colonel Smoker. The communications soldier next to him hesitated to speak. It's just that the superiors asked us to investigate as much as possible whether Hell William and Nico Robin were on that ship. Isn't there no trace of them inside or outside? Smoker put out his cigar and said calmly. Just report it truthfully. On the ground, there are an astonishing number of zombie legions on guard. Even in the air, there is a large flying force patrolling back and forth. With such a tight guard, not even a bird can get in, let alone send someone to lurk in to investigate. Although he has an impulsive personality and often disobeys orders and goes his own way without fear of authority, he does not take the lives of his subordinates as a matter of course. Monitor closely first. At dusk, Robin, Reiju, Perona and others return. Bartolomeo and Desire, who had packed their luggage and explained all matters, also came directly to the ship of terror. In the relieved eyes of those marines in Logue Town. Please give me flowers, advertisement. The huge ship of terror sets sail again. Go slowly towards the depths of the sea. Inside the gorgeous castle. Looking at William, who had returned to his original state, he looked completely different from the original, but more handsome, tall and stalwart. Desire and Bartolomeo opened their mouths in disbelief. Eyes widened. Get to know me again. I, Obask William, the boss behind the Hell Pirates. Tisk tisk, it turns out that you, Boss Yasuo, are the great pirate William who was offered a bounty of 500 million belly by Marine some time ago. He looked at William in front of him. Bartolomeo exclaimed in disbelief. Wow. Boss Yasuo. No, Boss William is more handsome than in the photo. Desire took out a stack of reward lists from his pocket. The reward list belonging to William was quickly found. I couldn't help but look at the ridiculously handsome young figure in front of me, and I couldn't help comparing the photos there. Eyes red, heartbeat quickening. At this moment, she found herself in love. Huh? Bartolomeo next to him noticed that Desire was staring at William blankly. I felt strange in my heart, but also inexplicably a little disappointed. It's like losing something. For a moment, I was a little confused. He scratched his head and thought no more. Welcome to join you, both of you. Robin took off his human skin mask and said with a smile. I am the archaeologist of the Hell Pirates. Nika Robin. Hello. Robin Senpai, Bato and Desire were busy responding. Don't be cautious, from now on, we are all companions. William said there. Soon, everyone got to know each other and gradually became familiar with each other. Hee tilde hee tilde hee tilde. Are these the knives you bought today, Lord William? Perona was filled with surprise when she noticed the two famous knives William put aside. Robin, Reiju and others on the side were also a little curious. Of course they noticed. Well, I'm lucky, I got it from the weapons shop. William shrugged and said with a smile. One is a good sword, Snow, and the other is a demon sword, 3rd generation Ghost. Chapter 103 Attack of Perona, 3rd update, late at night. Order people to arrange the rooms of Bato and Desire. After enjoying the sumptuous dinner, William returned to his bedroom. Prepared to take a dip. After reading the notes given to him by Crocus, the ship's doctor of One Piece, Drive. Hobikuba specially prepared it for him. He said that it can relieve physical fatigue to the greatest extent, greatly speed up wound healing, and prevent him from getting sick. During high-intensity training, leave behind a medicinal bath for hidden injuries. Lord William just returned to the room. A young and beautiful figure rushed forward and stopped him. Looking at the girl with a slightly drawn look in her eyes, William did not refuse her approach and asked with a smile. Perona, did you have a good time today? Perona blinked her eyes and looked at William's perfect face, full of expectation. Sir William, I bought a lot of new clothes today, do you want to see them? 430? Hear the words. William raised his eyebrows. Originally, he planned to go to Robin, a gentle and intellectual elder sister, after taking a shower to have an in-depth exchange of experiences about today's trip. But when Perona said this, he became interested. He glanced at the piled bags. It seems, not just ordinary clothes, and lace? He didn't refuse and agreed with a smile. How could he not know what this girl was thinking? At first, it was just because of the death of that guy Moria. If she was too messy, this girl might be resentful. However, based on the current relationship between the two, it can be said that it has become a matter of course. Then I'll change now. Perona was delighted to hear that William did not refuse. I took the clothes I bought today and ran to the bathroom. A small private Victoria's Secret show held by Perona lasted for about half an hour before it came to an end. This is good. William, who was satisfied with his view, began to evaluate Perona's performance just now and pointed out its shortcomings. Considering that the weather is too hot, I mainly point out its cool summer style. From the aspects of body, voice, movement, etc. instruct carefully. In terms of art, William has always been strict. I have to admit, the cute princess style of twin ponytails has a unique flavor. The next day, early in the morning, finished breakfast. Come to the training ground, except for the swordsman Ryoma, the best coach tool. Robin, Reiju, Hogba Gu and others are already training there. Advertisement in addition, from a distance, 2 newcomers, Bato and Desire, could be seen running around the terrifying ship sweating profusely under the strict supervision of 2 pterosaurs. The 2 of them were a little miserable, but as soon as it slows down, it will be attacked by the zombie pterosaurs arranged by the swordsman Ryoma. I can only grit my teeth, squeeze out my physical strength, and keep running forward. It is worth mentioning that, at this time, Bator was already a user with the ability of the Paramecia barrier fruit. So at a young age, he is already a gang boss in charge of protection fees for dozens of streets. But apart from the absolute defensive ability of the barrier fruit, other aspects are not outstanding and the strength is mediocre. Both he and Desire are the same as Perona. Start with the most basic physical exercise. Lord William, morning. See the boss, William, arriving. Everyone was there to say hello. Good morning, everyone. William didn't deliberately show off, and smiled and nodded to a few people. Immediately, he greeted Robin who was training. Robin, come here. Lord William, did you enjoy last night? Robin walked over with lotus steps. He looked at William with a half smile, his eyes full of teasing. How much fighting power can a little girl have with just one piece of film? William's face was not red, and his heart was not beating, and he said openly and honestly, the one who can really make people have endless aftertaste is a honey sister like you, Robin. If it wasn't for respecting Robin yesterday, he would have just ran over in the second half. 2. Robin blushed. He rolled his eyes at William unhappily. Today, I was originally going to personally guide you in the practice of observation hockey. But in view of your yin and yang attitude just now, Robin, I decided to change my approach. William smiled, squinting his eyes with a dangerous light. Let's play an interesting role-playing game. Robin's heart skipped a beat, some bad premonitions. Oh, then I want to see it, Robin hummed unconvinced. This is what you said, don't beg for mercy later. William's eyes were full of smiles. He turned around and walked towards the exclusive training ground he usually used. Of course, it's useless to beg for mercy. Robin felt a little regretful and had no choice but to bite the bullet and follow him. Advertisement not long after, on the second training ground. Can we start? Carrying a black cloth, Robin prepared to cover his eyes. To train observation hockey, naturally you cannot use your eyes. No need, next. William stopped her. I will directly block your hearing and vision, and I will be responsible for playing your enemy, a big villain with no bottom line, and will use any means to attack you mercilessly. Chop it under your feet. A large number of black shadows surge. At a speed visible to the naked eye, it flows and spreads in all directions. Immediately afterwards, a large black shadow rose into the sky like a waterfall, forming a hemispherical enclosed space. Huh? Robin felt his eyes darken. A space of about 10 meters in radius was all sealed off. William and her were both enveloped. I can't see my fingers. Tear. In the dark. Robin narrowly escaped. Holding the clothes that were suddenly torn half a half, his face turned red and he was a little angry. William, you are so shameless. Don't say that, I'm just letting you experience the cruelty of this world for yourself. William's teasing voice came faintly from the darkness. But the strange thing is that Robin can't tell which direction it comes from. Now I am a villain who does all kinds of evil and has no bottom line. Wait a minute, I admit defeat, I want to quit and stop playing. Robin regretted it. This man is so bad. What will happen if this continues? By then, she would be too embarrassed to see anyone. Sorry, the game has started and cannot be stopped. Chapter 104. Frightened Fish Man. Betrayal. Open black lens bracket 4th update close black lens bracket. A week went by in the blink of an eye. The terror ship caused quite a stir in East Blue. But William didn't care and still rushed towards the destination. Boss Arlong, it's not good. A huge island ship broke into our territory. That ship seems to be the terrifying ship that caused a huge sensation in Logue Town recently. It's the Hell Pirates led by the 7 warlords of the sea Gekko Moria. Cocoa West Village, Arlong Empire. Several fishmen were a little panicked and emerged from the bottom of the sea. He came to a tall fishman with a jagged nose, blue skin, hideous and ugly face, and reported in a panic. What? The fishman Arlong, who was sitting on a beach chair and sunbathing leisurely, couldn't help but change his expression. Damn it, what happened? He stood up directly and looked at the fellow fishman with a pale face. Why did Shichibukai come here? Although on weekdays, ordinary civilians are oppressed by force. They keep saying that humans are inferior creatures, and think that they are 10 times stronger than humans. As the darlings of the 24th sea, the fishmen who can breathe and swim on the bottom of the sea are the noblest race in the world. But Arlong naturally knows the true strength of those human ropers. In particular, he was beaten and severely humiliated by Kizaru, who had just been promoted to Admiral of Headquarters a few years ago and relied on his overwhelming strength to easily defeat him. As for Jinbei, who is also a fishman and chose to agree to the world government's invitation to join the 7 warlords of the sea for the sake of the Fishman Island, Arlong, the fishman, naturally knows his strength very well. Although I think Haisha Jinbei is a coward who compromises with the world government, I am very unconvinced by him. But what he must admit is that he is indeed no match for the fishman Jinbei. Gekko Moria, who is also one of the 7 warlords of the sea, is most likely not an ordinary person. There's no reason why Arlong doesn't pay attention to it. Arlong, they are already here, Gulu. Is that Moria's ship of terror? This is the first time I have seen such a huge ship. Boss Arlong, if you want to destroy their ship, it's not that easy. It's impossible to launch an attack from the bottom of the sea on this scale, right? At this time, a black spot grew bigger and bigger. It soon attracted the attention of the fishmen present, including the fishman Arlong. As the huge terrifying ship got closer and closer, the faces of these Murlocs who usually dominated East Blue due to their good water skills all changed greatly. Everyone opened their mouths. Advertisement cold sweat broke out. Damn it, are you here for us? The fishman Arlong gritted his teeth and clenched his fists tightly. Looking at the terrifying ship that was obviously heading towards Kokoja village and even the Arlong Empire. Some were shocked and angry. At the same time, behind these fishmen, there is a building about several stories high. In a room that is not particularly spacious, there are a lot of drawings. The orange-haired girl who was bending her head on the table, writing and looking back at the drawings, straightened up. I rubbed my eyes that were a little sore after working for a long time, looked at the blue sea outside the window, and was about to relax. BB. Suddenly, her eyes widened. He stared blankly at the huge and menacing ship on the sea, which was as big as an island. Is it a ship? Crash. A huge ship of terror. Soon it stopped in front of the Arlong Empire. Huge pterosaurs, carrying zombie knights, circled back and forth in the sky. These fishmen couldn't help but feel panic and a little uneasy. Gekko Moria, what are you doing here? Look at the bow. Ahead are several figures appearing on the coast. The fishman Arlong took a deep breath and said loudly, "This is the territory of our fishmen, and it is protected by the 7 warlords of the sea Jinbei." Although he was once a member of the Sun Pirates and hated the fishman Jinbei who compromised with the world government and was willing to become the world government's lackey, he had to admit that the skin of the 7 warlords of the sea was indeed very useful. At the beginning, the dragon pirates came to East Blue, occupied this sea area by force, and ruled the large and small villages on the nearby islands. They are still safe and sound to this day. In addition to their direct collusion with Colonel Mouse, the commander of the nearby Marine Branch 16, the main reason is because Marine regards them as men under the command of the fishman Jinbei. With the status of 7 warlords of the sea, as long as the trouble doesn't go too far, Marines from other branches will usually turn a blind eye. More than 100 fishmen? Looking at the open-air swimming pools ahead and the murlocs gathering on land, William chuckled. It's not bad as zombie material. Is this the fishman? He looked at these strange and ugly fishmen in front of him. Robin, Reiju, Perona, Desaya, Hogbaguba, Bartolomeo and others were all full of surprises. Advertisement: this was their first time seeing a fishman. Hee tilde hee tilde hee tilde. Negative ghosts appeared on his hands. Looking at these ugly fishmen, Perona's face was full of disgust and she said directly to William, "These ugly guys, let me deal with them, Lord William." "No need, if you come here it will be too slow, and you will also let these guys run away." William shook his head. The huge observation hockey instantly locked onto the fishmen present. Even the fishmen hiding under the water were not missed. Swipe. Swipe. He turned his palm upward. Thin and sharp shadow lines, almost invisible to the naked eye, kept pouring out. It had already submerged quietly into the bottom of the sea. Even on the land on the other side, in an instant. William's figure seemed to teleport. Suddenly, he crossed a distance of hundreds of meters and appeared in front of the fishman Arlong. He stared at these fishmen indifferently. What? I just feel like flowers are blooming in front of my eyes. Looking at the figure that suddenly appeared, Arlong and those murlocs all couldn't help but shrink back. They all broke into a cold sweat and subconsciously took a few steps back, becoming somewhat vigilant. "Your Excellency, who are you?" Arlong gritted his teeth and wanted to say something. Suddenly, the hairs on my hair stood up, the pupils shrank sharply. But murlocs all around. Suddenly there was a scream. As if out of control, they all waved their swords. He struck hard at the frightened fishman Arlong. Chapter 105. Little Thieving Cat Nami open black lens bracket first update close black lens bracket. WT. A splash of blood splattered. The murloc Arlong, who narrowly escaped the fatal blow but was inevitably stabbed, was screaming in agony. The back, arms and other parts of the body were cut with shocking cuts by the blade, dripping with blood. The whole person stared angrily, looking at his most trusted subordinates in disbelief. "Zauba, you. Bajda. Boss Arlong, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I really didn't mean to do it. Damn, what's going on? My body is out of control. I can't move at all, don't want." A famous fishman shouted there. Full of panic and unwillingness, he kept trying to struggle, but to no avail. All the fishmen of the dragon pirates lost control of their bodies, and they all rushed up one after another, whether on land or in the sea. Attack and kill the fishman Arlong, who was shocked and incomprehensible. Realized something was wrong. Arlong, a fishman unwilling to harm his fellow humans. Holding an extremely sharp serrated blade, he was a little in a hurry. Embarrassingly dodged the attacks of Kruby, who was good at fishman karate, and Hachi, the octopus who was good at swordsmanship. He glared at William, full of anger and murderous intent. Hole, you are the one who caused this, right? Tisk tisk, aren't you willing to attack your own people? We really have a deep love for our fellow countrymen. William smiled playfully. Ignoring the evil dragon, the 5 fingers of his right hand continued to varicose. Shadow lines that are almost invisible to the naked eye connect the shadows of the fishmen. All of them showed pain and panic, shouting and attacking the fishman Arlong. The murloc Arlong narrowly blocked the attacks of several murlocs. He retreated in embarrassment, seeing the distance between him and William getting farther and farther. Hit the water. Gritting his teeth, a puddle of water appeared on his right hand. With exaggerated wrist strength, he threw it out like lightning. Whoosh, whoosh, suddenly, a roar broke through the air. A large number of water droplets burst out. In the blink of an eye, sharp water arrows formed. Like a bullet, it hit William directly. Hey, however. William raised the corner of his mouth. Advertisement. There was no intention to dodge at all. The next moment, a dark shadow flashed in front of him. No, the fishman Arlong's pupils suddenly dilated. The canthus of the eyes is about to split. Blood splattered. A fishman suddenly rushed out and stood in front of William, and was mercilessly penetrated by several water arrows. Screaming, he fell into a pool of blood. Hey, Sir William, please don't play too much. On the ship of terror. Dr. Hogba Gu said loudly there. Otherwise my repair work would not be easy. Air. William shrugged. I don't feel at ease at all about Hogba Gu's words. Hole. The fishman Arlong was hysterical and yelling there. His horrifying eyes were bloodshot, revealing endless anger and murderous intent. Damn human being, I'm going to kill you. He was furious. Holding a huge blade in hand, he rushed towards William. $1. The serrated blade swept across. A famous man held a sword and rushed forward to block the fishman in front of him without fear of death. He was knocked back by the huge force he unleashed. He was going to kill William directly. Bajda. Sorry, we couldn't control ourselves. The powerful Kruby and Octopus Hachi rushed forward. After all, the fishman Arlong remained rational and was unwilling to harm them. Block the opponent. DXI. Arlong was furious. The vicious eyes are red and the shark teeth are ferocious. There, he growled. I can't spare you, human being. Yeah? The next moment, the fishman Arlong's eyes were filled with confusion. Before he could resist, his head was already held down by a big hand. He hit the boulder at his feet hard. Debris flew. Smoke and dust were flying. Arlong, the fishman, suffered a bloody head injury. Advertisement. After he regained his composure, he struggled there. Seg. But in a blink of an eye, a foot wearing a black leather shoe stepped on his head mercilessly. No matter how hard he struggled, he couldn't get rid of it. In fact, the severe pain that kept coming from him made his face distort. I felt like my skull was about to be crushed. I should be the one to tell you this. I can't spare you, you despicable fishman. Stepping on the head of the fishman Arlong. Looking down at the other party from a high position, William looked cold. His indifferent eyes were full of disdain and sarcasm. Although I don't care about the life and death of those civilians, human dignity is not in the hands of a fishy and smelly lower race like you to oppress and trample on. Feel sorry. He is not an extreme racist, but to be honest, I am not an egalitarian of fraternity or Mary, but rather a double standard. Although he has no dislike for beautiful female mermaids. But, that's all. The fishmen tribe, the snake-headed tribe, etc. He really felt that he was very ugly. It makes me feel sick when I touch it. Hearing the words, Arlong's eyes are red. Being so humiliated by William that he stepped on his head. He also listened to the other party's condescending and discriminatory remarks. Recalling the history of blood and tears of the Fishmen Island being enslaved by humans for hundreds of years. Damn human being, I'm going to kill you, kill you. The whole person was strongly stimulated, roaring there, struggling desperately. The other Murlocs were also gnashing their teeth, each one extremely angry and wanting to rush forward immediately and tear the opponent into pieces alive. But it happened that I couldn't move, Wang Hao, at all. Full of unwillingness. Hey, little devil hiding there, don't peek. William ignored these fishmen. He just looked at the building not far away. A petite figure was quietly hiding in the corner, peeking out his little head and looking carefully. Huh? Nami was startled. His face turned pale and his palms were sweating. He stood up in panic and some uneasiness. Your name is Nami, right? I've heard about you before. He stared at the orange-haired girl in front of him. William recognized the other person at a glance, pointed to the fishman Arlong at his feet, smiled and said, if I remember correctly, your adoptive mother Belmere was killed by this guy, right? Do you want revenge? Although I still don't have the hot body I would have a few years later. But that delicate little face already showed a bit of cuteness. Aw man? Chapter 106. Revenge? Ghostman Ajin, second update? Revenge? Hearing this, little Nami trembled. In my memory, the gentle figure of my adoptive mother, Belmere, who had appeared in my dreams countless times, appeared in my mind again. My eyes suddenly became moist. With his mouth pursed and his eyes red, he stared blankly at the young and handsome figure in front of him. These powerful and ferocious fishmen. There is also that invincible existence that is like a nightmare to her, the fishman Arlong. It's really like a bigger fish. He was trampled mercilessly under his feet. You can only let it be slaughtered. Will you also occupy this village like Arlong? Nami took courage and asked through gritted teeth. No, I'm not interested here. William smiled slightly and said, have you heard of the Grand Line? That's the paradise of adventure. The prehistoric island is home to various ancient creatures, and the Sky Island located at an altitude of 10,000 meters is like a dreamlike bubble. Even the hometown of these guys is the beautiful Fishmen Island located under the sea. Do the places recorded in these books really exist? Little Nami was dumbfounded and a little shocked. These were really too exciting for her. Of course. We came from the Grand Line and have been to most of these places. William nodded affirmatively. On the ship of terror, Robin, Reiju, Perona and others were surprised. They did not expect that William would recruit this little girl. Apart from being cute, there doesn't seem to be anything special about it, right? 400? For a moment, the look in William's eyes was full of weirdness. Is this guy so good? 0? Nami's eyes lit up. Holding a pink fist, he was a little excited. Immediately afterwards, William raised his left hand. Brush. A black shadow tentacle flew out directly. A pistol was caught in the hands of the zombie soldiers on the terrifying ship. When it was delivered to Nami, she couldn't help but trembled all over and looked at William subconsciously. I have to say that at such an age, these fishmen value you so much. You do have extraordinary sailing talent. If you can cultivate it, I believe you will become the best navigator in the world. Looking at Nami, who was a little hesitant but not unmoved, William smiled and said, as long as you follow me, the life and death of these guys will be decided by you. You really won't hurt other people in the village like Arlong and his gang? There was no rush to take the pistol. Advertisement. Nami looked at William eagerly and couldn't help but ask loudly again. Of course, although the words of pirates are generally not trustworthy, but to me, there is no value here. William shrugged, looked at Nami and asked with a chuckle. Besides, you don't naively think that you can really use 100 million belly to redeem the village from these guys, do you? Even if you manage to raise enough money, you won't be able to let go of these guys who have lost the courage to work in the CEDG Grand Line and only dare to hide in small corners like East Blue where no one cares about them, Kokoja Village and surrounding villages. After all, negotiation also requires strength. Obviously, you don't have the strength to make them pay equal attention. Nami was shaken all over and looked at William blankly. Unexpectedly, the other party even knew about her agreement with Arlong. I know, but I have no other way. This is my only hope. Nami lowered his head. Holding a pink fist, his whole body was shaking. Tears of grievance kept falling. How could she not know that she was seeking skin from a tiger? There is no guarantee at all that when I have worked hard to raise 100 million belly in the future, the other party will be able to fulfill its promise. But other than trying to hold on to what seemed like the only hope, there was nothing she could do. Just like now, I can only hope that you can keep your word and don't rely on force to enslave this village like Arlong and his gang. Wiping tears, trembling and grabbing the pistol. I felt my footsteps were extremely heavy and I staggered over. Arlong. Looking at the fishman Arlong who was stepped on by William. Nami's eyes showed complex emotions such as fear, anxiety, uneasiness, and panic. After all, the terror of these fishmen has already cast an endless shadow on this 13-year-old girl. But beyond that, even more filled with strong resentment and hatred. Nami, you little brat, how dare you betray me, noticed Nami's actions. Arlong, the fishman with blood all over his head, struggled, somewhat furious. Nami, you guy, damn little brat. Dare to betray us, I'm going to kill you. We'll kill all the people in Kokoja village sooner or later. Not only him, but also the fishmen who couldn't move around. They were glaring at Nami. They kept cursing, however. The next moment, the muzzle of the gun was aimed directly at Arlong, the fishman. Advertisement recalling the voice and smile of his adoptive mother and the humiliation of having to force a smile and grovel to his enemies these days. Belmere, I've avenged you, Nami, with tears streaming down her face and full of sadness. She closed her eyes, kept crying there, and finally pulled the trigger. At this moment, in a certain sea area in East Blue. The sea was full of broken shipwrecks and traces of battle. The smell of blood was everywhere, and corpses were everywhere. A broken pirate flag attracted attention. If other people in East Blue who often pay attention to current affairs saw it, they would be shocked. It was the pirate flag of the Creek Pirates, which has a huge fleet of dozens of ships and is known as the Overlord of East Blue. Well, it really took a lot of effort, on the tattered large pirate ship. Lafitte, who was a little embarrassed, wiped the bloodline on his cane sword and said with a smile. There are quite a lot of people, no way, after all, there are several thousand people, and the ammunition I carry is almost not enough. A transparent tall and thin figure carrying a gun appeared from the side. It was Van Oka. Yo-ho-ho, although not so strong, this guy's strength is indeed inconsistent with the bounty. Brooke looked at the thin but fierce-looking young pirate lying at his feet. 5 million Baileys is indeed a bit low. Indeed, a combat captain is stronger than the captain. Wappa nodded. Although the opponent's strength is not strong, he will not underestimate the opponent too much. After all, Wappa believes that people who can be favored by that adult are generally not too simple. Damn, Lousy's fleet, Lousy's dream. Who are you? A tall figure in golden armor fell there with a bruised face and struggled hard. But was mercilessly stepped on by Wappa, in an instant. A current rushed out, he screamed miserably, "Ah! Be quiet." Wappa glanced at him and spoke lightly. Captain Creek. The charred ghost agent next to him was trembling and struggling. But he was also trembling all over and had no strength to stand up. Gritting his teeth, he looked at the face unwillingly. Wappa, Van Oka and others in front of him. Why do you keep us two here? He has discovered the huge gap between the two sides. It can be said that the two of them are alive now, not because they are lucky. It is because the other party deliberately spared his and Creek's lives. MRT, looking at the tenacious demon akin. Lafitte was tap dancing there, smiling and said, I heard that Creek has done you a favor. Join our Hell Pirates, and we will spare this guy's life, how about it? Said. He looked at Creek, full of playfulness. What do you think, Captain Creek? What? Chapter 107 Nami and Nuo Kagao, third update. Kokoja Village. The earth rumbled and roared. A huge orange orchard rises from the ground. Bang bang, in the extremely shocked and somewhat frightened eyes of the villagers. The ground rumbled and trembled, leaving shocking huge footprints. The giant body of Demon Oz is as big as covering the sky. An entire orange grove was moved there, prepared to transfer them to the ship of terror. Too exaggerated. In this case, I think you can leave with us with peace of mind, right? William crossed his arms and looked at the two sisters who were stunned and speechless in front of him. Not so long ago, after Nami killed the fishman Arlong to avenge his adoptive mother. She is kind-hearted, although she has no favorable impression of these fishmen, and even hates them. But she no longer vented her inner hatred unscrupulously. Upon seeing this, the other fishmen were imprisoned directly by William's order. Prepared to be used as experimental material, and Nami returned home, preparing to say goodbye to her sister Nokagao. But she never expected that William, who followed, directly invited Nokagao to join. And seeing that the fishman Arlong and his gang had been eliminated, Nami actually chose to bear everything and join that hell pirate group for the sake of Kokoja Village. Although William, Robin, Reiju and others don't look like bad guys. But Nuo Kagao was naturally worried. Seeing William inviting him, he joined without hesitation. And the orange grove left behind by her former adoptive mother made her a little worried. Originally, I just asked William to transplant a few orange trees to the exaggeratedly large island ship so that the two sisters could have something to think about. Unexpectedly, under William's order, the entire orange orchard was directly raised from the ground by the huge and powerful Demon Oz. Moved to the ship of terror, it shocked them inexplicably. Speechless. Yeah, thank you very much, Sir William. Looking at the surprisingly young, tall and handsome figure in front of him, Nokagao expressed his heartfelt thanks. Although, I don't particularly want to become a pirate in my heart. If she wasn't worried about Nami, she would prefer to stay in Kokoja Village and be an ordinary person. But Nokagao had to admit that this was the best result for Kokoja Village. Advertisement: the other party is indeed a great benefactor to the village. Incredible. Looking up at the huge figure of Demon Oz, who simply and crudely carried the huge orange orchard, and returned to the terrifying ship, Nami couldn't help but exclaim. In the world, except for those large sea beasts, apart from sea kings, are there really such large humanoid creatures? I heard from William that there are things bigger than it. Robin came over. Looking at the two sisters in front of him, he smiled and said, Welcome to join, Nami, Nokagao. For these two girls with poor life experience and ill-fated fate. She still likes it very much, especially since she just got back from William. After learning about Nami and Nokagao's experiences, I felt even more pity for them. Of course, in William's words, maternal love overflows. We will all be partners from now on. Please give me more advice. Reiju, Perona, Desaya et al. They also came over one after another and greeted the two sisters. Thank you everyone, please give me more advice in the future. Nami and Nuo Kagao were flattered and hurriedly responded. Looking at each other, Dao Dao felt a little relieved. From the looks of it, these pirates should be easier to get along with. At least they won't be as cruel and violent as the dragon pirates. That night, with the fall of the Arlong Empire, Kokoja Village and the surrounding villages who got the news started singing and dancing. The terrifying ship had already taken the loot collected from the Arlong Empire and headed towards the depths of the sea. At a sumptuous dinner, a dazzling array of delicacies with fragrant aromas are delivered to the table one after another. Wow, made the two sisters Nami and Nuo Chigao's eyes light up and their index fingers moved. After getting along for a short time, they found that the Hell Pirates and the Dragon Pirates were completely different. They gradually relaxed and became less reserved. Join Robin, Reiju, Perona and others as they dined there. Enjoying delicacies that you had never had access to before. Thanks for treatment, it's so delicious, thank you very much. I don't know how long it took, but the two sisters were full of food and wine. They were all in a happy mood, touching their round belly and feeling extremely satisfied. Looking at Robin, Reiju, Perona and others enjoying their meal there slowly, I felt a little embarrassed. We are all our own people, don't feel embarrassed, look at that. Advertisement. Robin smiled kindly and pointed to the opposite side. The two sisters Nami and Nuo Kagao looked over subconsciously. I found that in front of William, I didn't know when there had been piles of plates as tall as a hill, and his slightly bulging belly was like a bottomless pit, constantly destroying the food. And all kinds of pizza, barbecue and other food are still being served. I couldn't help but open my mouth wide and was speechless. He tilde. Mr. William usually trains a lot and eats an exaggerated amount of food. Just get used to it, Perona said with a smile. Even Bartolomeo and Desaya, who just joined recently, I have long been used to it and am not surprised by it. Lord William, Lord Lafitte and the others are calling. At this time, a zombie servant who manages the phone bugs. Holding a phone bug with a red shell, he trotted over. Rear. William raised his eyebrows. Although the speed of eliminating food has slowed down, he still has no intention of stopping. Is there any good news? Lafitte? Yes, Lord William. Not long ago, we found the Creed pirates and successfully eliminated them. The other end of the phone bug, in a certain sea area full of traces of battle. A small boat is slowly heading into the distance. Lafitte on the bow. He glanced at the dazed ghost man-akin who was leaning there opposite, holding the phone and reporting. You are really good at predicting things. After letting Creek go, Ghost man-akin has just agreed to join. Just now, Creek heard that as long as Ghost man-akin was willing to join the Hell Pirates, he would be able to spare his life. He immediately gave a direct order to Agent, asking him to join the Hell Pirates. Abandoning this conscientious subordinate who worked hard for himself. In exchange for a small life. That's good, thank you for your hard work. William nodded slightly. He was not surprised by this result. He asked directly, does Beiji Crow have any clues? I just got some information from the black market and am preparing to go there. It won't take too long, don't worry. That's good, you should come back as soon as possible. Chapter 108 Mara Mara Fruit, Phantom Thief Karina 3 days later. Zixus Island. This is a beautiful but desperate island located in the middle of East Blue. There are unique ocean currents near the island, causing any approaching ship to be swept in by wind and waves and unable to leave. But for such a huge size as the terror ship, no worries at all. Following William's order, thousands of zombies were dispatched directly, rummaging around the island. Don't want to miss any corner. William, is there really devil fruit here? Looking at the island, Rosso was full of surprise. According to the information I received, there is a high probability that the devil fruit is here, William shrugged. He knew very well that the future Fire Fist Ace was accidentally swept here by the wind and waves, and got the Logia Mara Mara fruit by accident. But there's no way to know for sure. Is Mara Mara fruit currently on this island? After all, 880 was 2 years early. Maybe the fruit would be blown by the wind and waves in the future. But now that you're in East Blue, you can't miss it. Still try your best to find it. The legendary secret treasure of the sea is worth more than 100 million belly. Nami on the side held her little hands, her eyes shining. Although the Arlong Empire was destroyed early, she has become a little money addict at this moment. Nami, you are really a money addict. Nu Okagawa looked at her sister helplessly. After 3 days, the two sisters have gradually adapted to life in the Hell Pirates. It's just that they have to follow everyone for rigorous training early every morning. It's really miserable for them without any foundation. Other than that, the others are not good. Regardless of whether it is Captain William, Robin, Reiju, Perona and others, although they all have weird tempers, they are all surprisingly easy to get along with. Found it, Lord William. I do not know how long it has been. Until noon, the sun was shining brightly. A zombie soldier suddenly shouted there, attracting the attention of William and others. He ran over holding an orange-red spherical fruit with a spiral pattern that looked like a dragon fruit. This is Logia Mara Mara fruit. Looking at the fiery red fruit, Robin's pupils shrank sharply, full of disbelief. She has read the Devil Fruit illustrated book. I immediately recognized this fruit and was a little shocked. Hey, it looks like the information is correct, and it's a pretty good Logia ability. William chuckled as he took the Mara Mara fruit from the zombie soldier's hand. Advertisement, really? Show me, so this is devil fruit? Hear the noise. Nami, Perona, Nokagawa and others who ran to the rest area were a little bored waiting. They were confused. They all ran over and looked at the Mara Mara fruit in William's hand with surprise. Just watch it if you want, William smiled. He threw the Mara Mara fruit to several girls and let them take turns playing with it. Hiss tilde hiss tilde hiss tilde. In this case, our Hell Pirates will soon have 2 top Logia ability users. Hogbaji Yu said with a grin on his face, full of excitement. How could he not be excited? You must know that the 3 admirals who represent the highest combat power of naval headquarters are the top Logia ability users. Although, the 3 admirals themselves have quite amazing talent and strength. But the power of Logia is self-evident. Well, I'm pretty lucky. William said with satisfaction. He originally just wanted to try his luck. Unexpectedly, I actually found it. As for whether the Fire Fist will appear in the future, this has nothing to do with him. Little ones, get ready to set sail and leave here. William raised his right arm and gave orders there. Now that you have found Logia Mara Mara fruit, there is no need to stay here anymore. Oh, time flies. In the blink of an eye, another 2 days passed. The huge terrifying ship moved slowly on the sea. But William had no intention of giving the Logia Mara Mara fruit or other fruit abilities to the 2 sisters Nami and Nokagawa. He had other plans for the 2 sisters. After all, they were not expected to become such a powerful combat force from the beginning. Relatively speaking, William planned to make the sisters become auxiliary Paramisha ability users. For example, Paramisha Book Fruit, Paramisha Fortified City Fruit, and even Paramisha Childlike Fruit. This type of auxiliary Paramisha ability is more convenient. All very good. Damn it. Let me go, this day. The sun sets in the west, in the evening. Advertisement. Several zombie soldiers escorted a 13 to 14-year-old purple-haired girl with a gray face to the #1 training ground. Master Robin, we caught a thief. Oh, a thief? Looking at this girl who is similar in age to Nami, Nokagawa and their sisters, Yi is full of surprise. She is surprisingly young. It's not just Robin. Nami, Reiju, Nokagawa and others present were all a little surprised. They all came over and looked at the female thief who was tied up and trying to struggle. I'm really not a thief. Looking at the mature and beautiful Robin in front of her. Karina was pitiful and begged for mercy. I was just an ordinary girl who ended up here accidentally. Please let me go. Yeah? Next to him was William, who had just finished training and received the report. Looking at this purple-haired girl, I recognized her immediately and said with amusement, "You are not ordinary at all. Kaido Karina." Huh? Karina froze. Turning his head, he looked at the handsome figure with his bare upper body and perfect muscle lines, which made people lose sight of him. Cold sweat dripped down her face. Her identity was exposed? Phantom thief? Karina? The little thieving cat. Nami tilted his head and suddenly realized. I think I've heard of it. In the past 2 or 3 years, in order to make up for the 100 million belly agreed with the fishman Arlong, she had already started going out to sea alone to steal the belongings of pirates, business travelers, and harmful tribesmen. I have also heard someone mention the name of my colleague, Kaido Karina. It is said that she is a very smart, cunning, greedy, and tooth-gnawing female thief. William, do you know her? Robin asked with a smile. Because when CP was sorting out those intelligence materials, I paid more attention to the young and potential newcomers in the world, and I did notice her intelligence unintentionally. Looking at the panicked Karina with a smile on her face, William said 0.4 nonchalantly. As expected, there will be another girl on his ship. This girl has a flexible mind, is smart and alert, and is indeed a good talent. You can consider letting Robin teach you. After all, a team cannot be made up of reckless men who only know how to fight and kill. Intelligence, logistics, management, etc. are all indispensable. So next, at William's kind invitation, without any surprise, Kaido Karina, happily, agreed to join the Hell Pirates on the spot. Moreover, at only 14 years old, 1 year older than Nami, she showed excellent communication skills. Soon he got to know Nami and Nokagawa, 2 sisters of similar age. As for whether this girl was thinking about running away, it's hard to say. But as smart as she is, she has fully realized how powerful the Hell Pirates are. If you are not completely sure, you will obviously not do such a stupid thing. Chapter 109. Beiji and Ghostman, 2 Fruits, 5th update. 3 days later, Wappa, Luffy, Brook and others return. Riding a small fast sailing ship, he met the terrifying ship in a certain sea area. Following the 4 of them back were 2 young men of different shapes and temperaments. One is tall, wearing a suit and leather shoes, wearing glasses, and looks gentle. One is thin, plainly dressed, and looks like a wolf. Lord William, thank you for your hard work. On the bow. William crossed his arms. After smiling and saying hello to Wappa, Luffy, Vanoka and others, he looked at the brought-back Miaoji Clue and Ghostman Akin. Who are these guys? Is he Beiji Crow? Ghost Akin, his eyes are indeed fierce. Robin, Nami, Karina, Perona, Bartolomeo and others couldn't help but be filled with surprise as they looked at the 2 pirates named by William to be brought back. Are there any new people here? Looking at the sudden appearance of several unfamiliar faces around Robin, Reiju, Perona and others, Wappa and the others were also a little surprised. 24 I didn't expect that William would recruit so many people after he and others left for 10 days and a half. Moreover, they are all teenagers. The oldest boy with a coxcomb head looked no more than 18 years old. However, although they were somewhat curious and puzzled about Lord William's decision, they naturally would not question it foolishly. Let me introduce them. They're all new members. Robin stepped forward with a smile and introduced both parties. Soon, everyone got to know each other and nodded with their hats in greeting. Oh ho ho ho, now our Hell Pirates are getting stronger and stronger. Brook circled there. We have a few more beautiful ladies on our ship. I'm so happy. VBST, very rude, kicked away Brook. The fierce Perona put her hands on her hips and warned Nami and the others. This guy is very lecherous. You must stay away from this pervert skeleton. It's incredible. Only the skeleton is left. Can anyone survive? Advertisement. He blinked his big eyes. Nami was full of wonder. It must be because of the devil fruit, Nokagawa said, tilting his head. After joining the Hell Pirates for a few days, she gained a lot of knowledge and broadened her horizons. I am no longer unfamiliar with the legendary secret treasure of the sea. And at the same time, Ghostman Agent and Beiji Crow were naturally paying attention to the leader William, and they couldn't believe it. I didn't expect that Lord William, whom Wappa and the others called him, would be so young. However, looking at the huge figure in the distance that looks like a demon and gives people unlimited pressure. They all couldn't help but swallow their saliva. Cold sweat broke out. He is Demon Oz, a legendary ancient giant. He nodded politely to Nami, Karina, Bartolomeo and other newcomers. With a smile on his face, Luffy swung his cane and introduced the Ghost Akin and Beiji Crow. It is also a zombie created by Sir William with his ability. Not only it, but except for the few of us who are real living people, what you see around you are all zombie legions created by Sir William. Zombie army? How can this be? Scanning the surrounding figures that were no different from living people, as well as the beast legions. Ghostman Agent and Beiji Crow couldn't help but shrink their pupils, and they couldn't believe it. He looked in horror at William, who although he was young and handsome, the aura he exuded invisibly made it impossible to despise him. There was some chill. Ho 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 ho, even though Lord William is still very young, his strength is definitely beyond your imagination, Brooke also said with a smile. Okay, don't scare them. William stretched out his right hand and said with a smile. You two are new here, let's get to know each other. My name is Obask William, the captain of the Hell Pirates. Although the process of inviting you to join is a little rough. But I believe you will not regret joining us. East Blue is just a small fish pond. It is too gentle an environment to give birth to a truly strong person. I believe this, which is why I agreed to join without hesitation. I habitually pushed my glasses up with my palms. Beiji Crow's eyes flashed, he held William's hand directly and said with a smile. Hello, Captain William, I am Crow, the former captain of the Black Cat Pirates. Please give me your advice in the future. A few days ago, leading the Black Cat Pirates, they had just robbed a merchant ship and were preparing to return home. I met Wappa and his group who suddenly appeared. Advertisement. His subordinates were easily killed instantly. Even he, the captain of the Black Cat Pirates, was easily crushed by using the silent step he invented in his proud move, Death Dipper. In fact, his speed was completely overtaken. The speed of each of the four people actually surpassed him. It is said that it is an advanced physical skill called 6 styles, and what they performed are 6 superhuman physical skills. This was simply unacceptable to Crow. He had worked so hard and thought hard to develop the Lao Si, but its speed was only comparable to the shaving they had mastered, and it was easily cracked. Moreover, the death of dipping cannot be controlled. Once used, it is an indiscriminate attack, even he doesn't know who he will attack. But the other person's shaving can be controlled as easily as he wants. After the other party sent out the invitation, Crow, who weighed the pros and cons, agreed to join without hesitation. 670. Sir William, Crow's silent step is indeed amazing. If I can get some guidance from you, Sir William, and practice it. Lafitte on the side said with some emotion. I'm afraid it will be far away at the speed, far beyond us. Have to say, Beiji Crow was able to use his talent to create silent punishment and death by dipping. It really surprised them. Oh, is it so? William raised his eyebrows. He has known this for a long time. Although I was forced to join you at the beginning, but now I am starting to look forward to it. Looking at the huge figure in the forest in the distance, Ghostman Agent looked at William in front of him with burning eyes. They said, Sir William, you can give me more powerful power. Is this true? Certainly, seeing Ghostman akin being so straightforward. William was not surprised, nor was he angry, he just smiled and nodded. I have prepared a meeting gift for you. Paw. As he spoke, he clapped his hands. 2 zombie soldiers came up holding a tray. The 2 devil fruits placed above attracted the attention of Robin, Nami, Karina, Perona and others. It's Lafitte and the others, after seeing the label above. They couldn't help but shrink their pupils, somewhat shocked. Chapter 110 Phantom Beast Species and Logia, first update. Devil fruit? Is this the legendary secret treasure of the sea? For a while, Beiji Crow and Ghost Akin's eyes were blazing. Looking at the 2 weird-looking fruits, I felt a little excited. His breathing became rapid. In the past few days, they have heard Brooke and others introduce the situation of the Grand Line. I have a general understanding of devil fruit. Is this devil fruit? Karina swallowed, blinking his big eyes, full of shock. Although since boarding the ship of terror, I have learned about the types of devil fruit and have seen more than one demon fruit power. But this was her first time seeing the legendary devil fruit in person. It seems that you all know what this is, William smiled. Looking at the 2 people with blazing eyes and some excitement, they directly said, one is the rare Logia Mera Mera fruit. And the other is the Rad Shu 2 fruit that is more penetrating than Logia. Phantasmal beast type. Kamita form. It can be said to be one of the top devil fruit abilities in this sea. He was not stingy about rewarding those powerful devil fruits. Beiji Crow and Ghost Akin are indeed worth cultivating. Of course, if it hadn't been confirmed that Munch Fruit's ability could recover devil fruit, William wouldn't have been able to give away Logia Mera Mera fruit and the ability of the phantom beast species Kamamita form so easily. However, if the performance of the 2 of them is too poor to satisfy themselves, at that time, he would not mind taking back everything he received as a reward. D30. Whether it's Crow or Akin, they couldn't help but their hearts beating faster and they were full of excitement. They didn't quite know what was so special about the Phantom Beast's ability, but they had witnessed with their own eyes how powerful Logia's ability was. Wappa is the Esper of Logia Thunderfruit and he is incredibly powerful. Simply an invincible monster, and such power is now in front of them. How to keep them from being moved? I can give you the chance to become stronger. Patting Agent and Crow on the shoulders, William looked directly at the 2 of them and said quietly, but how far you can achieve it depends on you, don't let me down. Otherwise, I will take back everything I have given you. Speaking of which, his tone was extremely calm. However, Ghostman Agent and Beiji Crow felt inexplicably cold in their hearts. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Beiji Crow knelt on one knee and swore allegiance without hesitation. I am willing to dedicate my heart to you, Sir William Tilda. -1 yen. The Ghostman akin on the side also saluted there. With little education, he looked directly at William with firm eyes and said loudly with a serious face. I believe that I will never let you down in the future. Advertisement. I have personally experienced how powerless Vappa is when faced with the Logia ability user. In particular, through the popularization of science by Wappa, Lafitte and others, they also understood the types of devil fruit. Naturally, we all know what such top-notch devil fruit means. To put it bluntly, this is enough to change their destiny. Originally, I thought that if I joined the Hell Pirates, it would be great to be able to obtain ordinary zone or paramecia abilities. I never thought that William, the ridiculously young boss, would be so generous and full of courage. Give them such a powerful ability directly as a meeting gift. Let there be some arrogant and arrogant two people. They were all immediately impressed. If there is no need, I won't say more. In the next 3 to 5 years, you will use your actual performance to prove to me whether you are worthy of them or not. William smiled and waved his hand gently. 2 zombie soldiers take 2 devil fruits each. It was delivered to Ghostman Agent and Beiji Crow. The top quality devil fruit is not so easy to get for free. Within 3 to 5 years, if the two of them fail to meet their expectations, William will not mind taking back everything given to them. As 2 devil fruits were delivered to them, the 2 people, who were already eager to take them, couldn't wait to take them. One by one, they ate the devil fruit like a gulp. But that exaggerated taste made them look wonderful. Tisk, tisk, what a generous move. Looking at Guiron and Beiji, Lafitte was full of envy. Next, I'm afraid I won't be able to beat you too. He knew very well that William was very generous. But I didn't expect that the other party would be so courageous. Directly gave such top-notch abilities to the ghosts Akin and Beiji Crow who had just joined. Don't belittle yourself. William patted Lafitte on the shoulder and said with a smile, work hard. Ability does not mean everything. Swordsmanship is as important as hockey. He still admires Lafitte, but the other party is already an Esper, so there is nothing we can do. Otherwise, the ability in the form of the Phantom Beast, the Kamaita, might belong to him. Don't be envious, they are mainly trained as combatants. William looked at Nami, Nokagao, Karina, Desaya and other girls who were not yet demon fruit power, and they were full of envy. He said bluntly, if you get an overly powerful ability, you have to bear the burden of it. The relative pressure, both the amount of training and the battles we will face, are beyond the imagination of ordinary people. You are not the type who likes to fight and kill. You are more talented in other aspects. If you want to become an ability user, you will have everything you need when you encounter the right fruit ability. In addition to having considerable basic strength, his arrangements for the girls are mainly to develop and train them in aspects such as team management, logistics, and intelligence. If they encounter devil fruit abilities that suit them, he won't be stingy either. Logia Mera fruit, let me see it. At this time, there was a flash of electricity. Wappa appeared in front of Ajin. Finger pistol. His right index finger shot out like lightning. Relying on the shadow of the CP5 strong man, and the personal teachings of the swordsman Ryoma, coupled with his unremitting and hard training day and night. Even when I went on missions these days, I never relaxed my practice and worked hard on the ship every day to keep fit. Advertisement relying on his own considerable talent, coupled with efforts that are more than 200 times higher than ordinary people, and the bonus of Logia Thunder Fruit ability, his strength can be said to have grown by leaps and bounds. His physique is far beyond that of ordinary people, and he has mastered half of the 6 postures, and finger pistol is one of them. *Al. In an instant, Ah-Jin only felt his eyes blur. Subconsciously, he was about to retreat, but he didn't have time to dodge. The whole person had been cut into a sieve, but not a trace of blood flowed out, but instead there were balls of fire. Is this the elementalization of Logia? Ah-Jin, who found that there was no pain at all, lowered his head. Looking at his unharmed body, somewhat incredible. The body turns into fire, this magical scene. Let Nami, Nokagao, Bartolomeo and others marvel. This was the first time they had seen someone with Logia abilities, and they were indeed incredibly powerful. Except for a few special means such as hockey and seastone that Lord William mentioned, I am afraid that they cannot be easily hurt at all. If you want to fully master the ability and use it freely, you still need to spend some time to control it. As a veteran, Wappa smiled and said, I suggest you deal with it in the wild for a few days, and wait until you master the ability, so as not to give up Lord William's castle. Hee tilde hee tilde hee tilde. At the same time, Perona floated forward. He looked curiously at Beiji Crow, who had just eaten the phantom beast species, the ability in the form of a sickle and weasel, and there was no change at present. What is the ability of the animal? Nuo Lihao. Phantom beast species? I still want to know. Never seen it before? It feels very good. There is a powerful force flowing out. Close your eyes for a long time, clenched fists. Crow smiled. Roar. The next moment, the whole person roared. Changes occurred at a speed visible to the naked eye. Sharp fangs sprouted from its mouth, and thick black hair grew all over its body, making it look ugly and ferocious. His hands turned into extremely ferocious beast claws. On the claws, the long nails are like sickles, sharp and sharp. Cold light flashed. A huge change in contrast. It startled Nami, Karina, Desire and others. Swipe. Crow, who transformed into a sickle, suddenly waved his hand. A pair of sickle-like claws directly tore through the atmosphere. Whoosh! Whoosh! There were ripples in the air. Wind blades invisible to the naked eye struck out like lightning. In the somewhat shocked eyes of Robin, Nami, Perona, Brook, Lafitte and others. Several boulders in the distance were easily torn apart like tofu. The cuts are extremely smooth, it's jaw-dropping. Chapter 111. Attacking Desire, William's admonition. The next day, early in the morning, on the messy battlefield. Accompanied by a thin and nagging voice. Lord William, a young and beautiful figure, already sweating profusely, exhausted. But under William's strict teaching, she is still practicing hard there. From time to time, she stares at this lord eagerly. Tears well up in her eyes, pitiful. Desire, the most taboo in cultivation is to give up halfway. William frowned. Righteously, he scolded. You can't go back like this. Yesterday, this girl took the initiative to pull herself over with a nervous mood and asked her about the problems of cultivation. Considering that Desire's spirit of eagerness to become stronger is precious, William took the time to patiently give her one-on-one guidance. However, her foundation is too poor, she couldn't hold on after training for a while. But early in the morning, she wanted Wei to guide her training. But relatively speaking, her willpower is too poor. Although it was just a simple confrontation training, William had already deliberately restrained his strength, let go of his strength, and patiently fed him, feeding him moves. But Desire's level was limited. Not long after, William, who was always strict, conscientious, and never perfunctory in training, beat him up severely. She was about to cry. As if she was falling apart, her hands and feet were sore, and she was weak all over. She had to surrender, but under William's persistent request. She had to work hard every time she tried to give up. With a bitter face, she had to be consistent and insist on completing the training. After all, this Lord William was not always free, and such opportunities were limited. Even on the terror ship, William repeatedly stated that the capable ones were promoted and the mediocre ones were demoted. But the atmosphere of seniority and first come first served was still very serious. After all, she was just a newcomer, and could not compare with Robin and Perona, two seniors who had been with William for a long time and trained very hard without slacking off. Yes, I understand. I will work hard and not let you down. Faced with the earnest teachings of this adult, Desire decided to continue to work hard. After all, she had finally waited for the opportunity. It happened that she met Robin and Perona, the poor relatives who always came uninvited and liked to ask for money every month, so she seized this opportunity. She had the opportunity to ask this handsome Lord William, who had already fascinated her, about the problems of cultivation. Advertisement. I have to say that he is worthy of being Lord William. With rich experience and strong strength, his attainments and physical skills are far beyond the reach of ordinary people. She benefited a lot from it, gained a lot, and benefited a lot. Well, let's stop here today. Looking at Desire, who couldn't stand the high-intensity training and fell down tiredly. William shook his head helplessly and said, have a good rest, and keep working hard in the future. You can't give up halfway. In order to ensure that you can perfectly absorb and thoroughly digest the gains of this training, it is best to write an experience report. I want to read it tomorrow. A day's plan begins in the morning, don't slack off. I know, I will work hard, Lord William. Desire's eyes were full of tears and she was moved. Lord William, who was handsome and powerful, gentle and principled, was really good to her. She must work hard and strive to double the amount of training as soon as possible. Repay the other party's kindness and live up to his love. Put down the practice early in the morning. Take out time and work hard to fill Desire with positive energy. William, who was a little emotional, finished breakfast and slowly left the castle and came to the training ground. Morning, Lord William. Wappa, Lafitte, Brook, Vanoka and others had already been swaying profusely there. Seeing William coming, they all greeted each other there. But they did not stop training, nor did they mean to come closer. From a distance, Nami, Najigo, Bartolomeo and others could be seen running around the terror ship under the supervision of several pterosaurs. Coming towards them was Robin's half-smiley eyes and Perona's resentful eyes. Sepha, however, Reiju's complicated eyes. What's going on? William, who was already very thick-skinned, naturally, he would not feel embarrassed. He selectively ignored these eyes. Fire Fist, at this time. Not far away on the coast, the demon Akin was swinging his fists wildly. His right fist turned into a blazing flame and blasted out fiercely. The sea was steaming and misty. The entire sea surface was reflected in an extremely red color. Even though it was a bit far away, I couldn't help but feel the waves of heat coming towards me. It's not bad to be able to achieve this level in one night, William nodded. Advertisement. Although the power is still very weak, it is far from being able to easily penetrate and burn 1,000 warships with one strike. But considering his own strength and the fact that he has just obtained the ability of the fruit, It is not too bad, he recognized Akin's performance. He was so excited that he couldn't sleep after just getting the ability. At the same time, in order to avoid poor control of the ability, he burned his own castle. William arranged for him to set up a tent and let him deal with it in the wild for a few days. A distance from the demon Akin in the training ground. Thousand Faces of Wind, on the other side, transformed into a sickle weasel, ugly and ferocious, completely different from usual, and completely without the gentle image, Chloe shouted there. Waving the sickle-like claws wildly, swish, swish, there were faint ripples in the air. Invisible wind blades kept cutting out. The sea surface exploded and water splashed. It was torn into shocking holes, slowly recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. It's frightening. Noticing William's arrival. Beiji Crow and Guiran Akin both stopped their ability training. They all came over and saluted, no need to be polite. It seems that you have adapted to the new abilities a little bit. William waved his hand and admonished. However, the development of abilities is important, but the practice of physical skills cannot be slackened. Only a strong physique can support you to go further. In the future, Ryoma will be responsible for arranging your training and guiding your practice, don't slack off. He doesn't necessarily require every member to master all 6 styles. But except for more convenient and practical physical skills such as shaving and moonwalk, it's up to them to learn other skills. The main thing is that the practice of physical skills cannot be slackened. Abundant physical energy and a strong physique can also allow them to fully exert the power of Devil Fruit. And apart from the fruit ability, the basic combat power must not be too weak. As for hockey training, it is obviously too early for them. They need to train for a few more months at least to consolidate their foundation. William has plenty of patience, he is not in a hurry. Chapter 112 Floating Sky Island, Flying Pirates Open Black Lens Bracket 3rd Update Close Black Lens Bracket. 2 days later, the Ship of Terror crosses the calm belt again, officially leaving the East Blue and preparing to return. The target, the first half of the Grand Line, the Devil's Triangle. And on the second training ground, 1. William was wearing sea-stone handcuffs and beating the iron wall crazily. With a determined look, he kept punching, swinging his legs, elbows, and knees. Even the head, shoulders, back. It was simply transformed into a humanoid weapon, and it did not hesitate to use its body and other parts to continuously hit the thick alloy iron wall and keep hitting it. No matter if it bleeds or not, no matter if it hurts or not, no matter if it is numb or not. He was sweating profusely, his eyes were firm and paranoid, and he didn't even frown. After thousands of times of hard work, every part of the body must be turned into the most indestructible weapon that no one can defend against. Although I don't mind relaxing once in a while, having in-depth discussions and communication with Robin, Perona, Desire and other women, and enjoying a wonderful life. But William doesn't get overly immersed in it, because he has been very clear from beginning to end that the fundamental reason why he wants to have all this for a long time, and even more, and enjoy more good things is strength. Not to mention, his heart was burning with a blazing flame called ambition. He has always had the ambition to become the strongest in the world. This is also the reason why William has been able to work hard 200 to 300 times more than ordinary people for more than 10 years, working day and night to practice unremittingly. Everything stems from his ambition to surpass everything, to dominate everything, and to trample the sea under his feet. At this time, a zombie soldier hurried over. Somewhat panicked, he reported to Jung Jung, who was sweating profusely and constantly training. Heidongxing No. 1, who was in charge of the inspection, received news through the phone bug. A large number of floating sky island groups were discovered at 2 o'clock ahead. 100 nautical miles away, his head hit the iron wall so hard that it made his scalp numb. William, whose forehead was already extremely red, turned around in surprise. Sky Island. The current Hell pirates, except for the Pterosaur flight unit responsible for patrolling and guarding the airspace near the terrifying ship. There is also a special scout force, composed of zombies created by William using the corpses of various birds such as seagulls, and newsbirds. Although it has little combat power, it flies extremely fast and does not attract attention easily. In all directions of the terrifying ship, patrol the conditions of the sea area ahead, with a radius of 100 nautical miles. Advertisement and with human shadows implanted in them, they are able to speak like normal humans. Specially equipped telephone bugs will report any abnormalities as soon as possible. Timely feedback. Yes, I have confirmed it again and again. The zombie soldier braced himself and responded cautiously. According to Heidongxing No. 1, they are all floating in the sky. At first, it couldn't believe it when it heard such exaggerated news. But Heidongxing, the zombie responsible for patrolling the sea area ahead, repeatedly assured him on the phone. It didn't dare to delay and rushed over to report. The sky pirates? William's eyes narrowed. He took the towel from another zombie soldier and was sweating. I couldn't help but smile. It's interesting, I really can't find anything after trying to break through the iron shoes. Here the floating sky island group, and it's also in the calm belt where the East Blue intersects with the Grand Line. He immediately confirmed that it should be the Golden Lion's lair. Since the other party cut off his legs and escaped from the deep-sea prison impelled down more than 10 years ago, he seems to have disappeared, keeping a low profile and never showing up again. But William naturally knew. This lion is planning something. Initially, during the Battle of Etwall, the powerful Sky Pirates, led by Golden Lion Shiki, forced the Roger Pirates into dire straits, but a sudden huge storm saved the Roger Pirates who were at the end of their rope. It also destroyed the ambition of Golden Lion. All the elite members of the Flying Pirates were lost. There were only 2 or 3 kittens left, and even the Golden Lion had a rudder stuck in its head. It cannot be taken off easily, otherwise it will endanger your life. I don't know whether it was because of the influence of the rudder, but Golden Lion, who had a brain problem, began to highly admire Gold, who could be said to have climbed to the top of the mountain with flying pirates, broke into the legendary island of Raftel, and became the Pirate King. Roger regards him as his lifelong rival. Moreover, after learning that the Pirate King Roger was arrested by Marine and was going to be publicly executed by East Blue, who is recognized as the weakest in the world and has always been the most despised. This result is unacceptable to the Golden Lion. He actually went crazy and rushed into naval headquarters alone, asking Marine to hand over Roger to him to kill. As a result, Buddha Sengoku, who was still the Admiral of Headquarters at the time, and Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral Hiro Garp jointly suppressed him and imprisoned him in Impel Down. After One Piece Roger was executed, and after 2 years of silence in the eternal hell on the 6th floor of the deep-sea prison, Golden Lion, a Paramecia lion fruit user, resolutely cut off his legs, got rid of the shackles of Seastone, and escaped, out of Impel Down. Advertisement as a result, I accidentally came to an island called Vermeo. It was discovered that not only were there a large number of huge and extremely violent beasts on it, but also that this mutation was caused by a plant called IQ. As soon as his head twitched, he began to retire and devote himself to studying IQ. Prepared to cultivate a large number of giant beasts and release them directly into the East Blue to retaliate against the world government and Marine, in an attempt to use this method to force the world government to compromise with itself. In fact, in William's opinion, he was completely out of his mind. But it is undeniable that as a legendary pirate who once stood on par with One Piece and Whitebeard, Golden Lion's strength is real. Even if it was because of the influence of the rudder and the loss of both legs. He is still the unbelievably powerful flying lion that roars all over the world. Hey, Golden Lion. For a while, his fists were clenched tightly. The glistening sweat kept dripping down. Those perfect muscle lines couldn't help but bulge and tighten. Staring at the sea in front of him, William's eyes became fiery, revealing a proud fighting spirit. Let me verify for myself how much power the flying lion, who was once famous in the sea, still has left. Want to become stronger quickly? You absolutely cannot hide in a corner all day long and practice and exercise step by step. We can only continue to fight against the strong, engage in the fiercest battles, and risk our lives. This is the catalyst to make yourself stronger quickly, and it is also the best shortcut. But the price of failure may be death. Give me the order to stop advancing. Make a decision. William did not hesitate and gave the order directly. A man of great skill is bold, and he thinks that he can protect himself with the power of the Shadow Fruit. Even facing such a legendary and famous pirate in the past, he was not afraid. But considering Lion Fruit's abilities are too exaggerated. If the time comes, Golden Lion goes crazy and throws several islands down from high altitude, or directly uses Lion Fruit's ability to float the entire island ship into the sky. That would be a huge loss. Chapter 113. Infiltrate, Golden Lion's Treasure House, 4th update. What? Floating Sky Island, the Sky Pirates. That legendary flying pirate, Golden Lion Shiki? Not long after, William summoned all the members of the Hell Pirates. Informed Robin, Wappa, Van Oka, Hogba Gu and others about the news of the flying pirates. They all couldn't help but be shocked, and some were inexplicably shocked. No one expected that they would accidentally encounter the legendary pirate Golden Lion. Next, I'm going to meet this flying pirate for a while. William said directly. Longma, Wappa, Oka, Lafitte, you guys are responsible for taking that guy Wappa with you, but you don't need to participate in the battle. Others don't need to go there, stay here and wait. He quickly made arrangements. 207, took Wappa there, naturally wanting to recover the Golden Lion's ability. The swordsman Ryoma was sent out just to be on the safe side, lest that guy Wappa would be easily killed. The ability of Van Arcana's Paramecia Transparent Fruit is just right in use, too. And with Wappa and Lafitte's abilities, as long as they are not involved in the battle. With their flying abilities, self-protection should be no problem. It's good to open your eyes. Yes, Lord William. Regarding William's decision, everyone present would naturally have no objections. Of course, even if they think it's a little too risky, they know it's useless to have objections. Although Mr. William is usually easy to talk to, he always says what he says and will not change things he has decided easily. Then you have to be careful, William. Robin looked at William worriedly. The opponent is, after all, the legendary pirate. A person's name, a tree's shadow, must be incredibly powerful. Don't worry, the Golden Lion is no longer the all-powerful lion it once was. Without its fangs and claws, the threat to me may not even be as great as Marine Admiral Aokiji. William was full of confidence and comforted with a smile. Perhaps the current Golden Lion is not as senile as it was 5 years later in its original trajectory, but its glory is still there. But having a rudder inserted on the head will definitely have a great impact on it. It is still unclear whether it can use Conqueror's Haki. In order to escape from prison, he lost his legs again, so he used a sword as a prosthetic limb. Where can I get stronger? Because of the intense training in the morning. William was in no hurry and set off directly, advertisement. Instead, I was patient and took a 2-hour break to recharge my batteries. Ensure that all aspects of your body are restored to peak condition. The fighting spirit is high. Dark shadows surged. Transformed into a huge black eagle. Woohoo! As Robin, Perona, Brooke and others watched, the astonishingly large raptor flapped its wings. With William, Wappa, Lafitte, Wapple, Swordsman Ryoma, Fanoka and others, they rushed towards the distant sky at an astonishing speed. Although in order to ensure that the Munch Fruit's abilities could continue to be utilized, William did not turn Wapple into a zombie. But this guy has long been controlled by William's implanted shadow and turned into a puppet who obeys orders. Although this method is ineffective for strong people, it is easy to break free. But for Wapple, who has basically no strength and weak will, couldn't be a better fit. SYY, the wind howled. Less than an hour later, high in the sky in the distance, a huge black spot looms in the distance. It's becoming clearer. It turned out to be a huge floating sky island. As if it has lost gravity, it is suspended thousands of meters in the air, with no tendency to fall. Full of visual impact and extremely shocking. Hiss. Those floating islands. Is this what lion fruit is capable of? Tisk, tisk, that's really exaggerated, although I have already heard William mention it. But after all, Wappa, Lafitte, Vanoka and others did not have a very profound concept. It wasn't until this moment, when I saw these floating sky island groups with my own eyes, that I realized how exaggerated lion fruit's abilities really were. We're almost close. Oka, activate the fruit's ability. No problem, leave it to me, Vanoka nodded confidently. The ability of the transparent fruit was directly activated. I saw that huge black hawk, together with William and others on its back, all became transparent and invisible in the blink of an eye at a speed visible to the naked eye. Just disappeared into the sky. However, there were still bursts of loud roars that broke through the air. Advertisement in the atmosphere, there were faint and astonishing ripples. Not long. Vermeo, the island of beasts. A huge thing invisible to the naked eye suddenly spiraled down. Stopped in a hidden corner. Lord William, what are you going to do next? As a special zombie, Ryoma had a fierce fighting spirit in his eyes. How about I go find out about Golden Lion? As a great swordsman, he naturally hopes to fight against a great swordsman like Golden Lion. Don't worry, it is the lair of the Sky Pirates after all. Let's check his treasure house first to see if there are any treasures. William waved his hand. There was a slight smile on the corner of his mouth, and his eyes flickered there. The reason why he didn't just come up and make a fuss was because he thought that if they started fighting directly, these floating sky islands might be destroyed. Before that, William was planning to sneak into the Golden Lion's treasure house to see if there were any treasures worthy of attention, such as devil fruit or something. Wah! He flicked his fingers. A thin shadow line almost invisible to the naked eye flew out. Connected to the highest point like lightning, lies the main island of the palace. His observation Haki can feel that there is a very powerful aura there. 2.1. Apparently it's the home of the Golden Lion. He himself is there. Snapshot. The next moment, the shadow mage who stood upright. In an instant, he disappeared directly from William. The main body, however, remains in place, so as not to alert the enemy prematurely. Brush. No one found it on the huge main island. A looming black shadow silently walked through the shadows and sneaked directly into the palace. It didn't attract any attention at all. About 10 minutes later, in a huge and spacious treasure house, a human-shaped black shadow emerged from the dark corner. Ignoring the dazzling piles of gold treasures, soon I found a hidden secret compartment. 5 treasure boxes were taken out. Hey, is it true? Chapter 114. Black Prison William vs Golden Lion Shiki. Dusk. The sun sets. The clouds in the sky are so gorgeous. Without warning, the normally peaceful sky island suddenly heard a loud noise. Shoo! A huge crescent-shaped slash struck directly. The entire palace was divided into 2. In the blink of an eye, the magnificent palace was directly cut off, and the cut was too smooth to be true. Rumble. The upper half slid down at a speed visible to the naked eye and collapsed. Smoke and dust billowed. There were constant screams, and curses. Many members of the flying pirates were directly buried alive. Damn. Who is it? A tall golden figure rose into the sky. Some are furious. Noticing the black figure in front of him who did not hide his presence, he stared blankly. You guy. I'm sorry, I just came for a visit and I got a kick out of you. William, who had no thought of hiding it and made a big fuss as soon as he came up, put his hands in his pockets and said with a smile. He glanced at the Golden Lion in front of him. The loose samurai uniform, wild blonde hair, and a ship's rudder on his head looked a bit funny. What's even more striking is that 2 swords are tied to his feet as prosthetics to replace his legs. It was the image that William expected from the beginning. Generally the same. Gia ha ha ha, I haven't had a guest for a long time. Chewing a cigar. Golden Lion Shiki laughed. Immediately, his sinister eyes stared at William fiercely. Kid, do you know what you are doing? Of course. William looked calm and said with a smile. I didn't expect that the legendary flying pirate would actually be hiding here. Golden Lion at the moment, although not as good as at its peak. But he is not as old as he will be a few years later, and he still looks high-spirited. William's innate observation haki can clearly sense that the haki is indeed equivalent to the next day. Although there are no claws, the sharp fangs are still there. It can tear and bite prey easily. Advertisement. A gray-faced figure crawled out of the ruins in embarrassment. Looking at William's young and handsome figure that could not be ignored, his pupils could not help but swell. Having paid attention to news reports before, he took out a stack of reward lists from his pocket and quickly found William's reward list, where he compared it. It's him, he can't be wrong. As the ship's doctor and scientist of the Sky Pirates, Drive. Indigo confirmed William's identity and quickly reminded his captain Golden Lion loudly. Boss Shiki, he is Black Prison William. It is said that he was once a member of CP9. Biggie had trouble with Eni's lobby, one of the 3 major organizations under world government. Despite his young age, he also fought against Marine Admiral Aokiji not long ago and escaped unscathed. Really? CP9? Golden Lion raised his eyebrows. Gia ha ha ha, he looks like he is no ordinary kid. No wonder he is so confident. But, who do you think Lousy is? He glared at William fiercely, his eyes becoming fierce and murderous. Comparing Lousy with those trash from Marine? Slash wave. No nonsense. The right foot with the sword tied to it suddenly kicked out. Wah. In an instant, the atmosphere was split. A huge golden slash shot through the air and rushed towards William like lightning. Murderous. Tempest kick Lan Duan. William's expression remained unchanged. If his right foot was electrified, he would also kick it out violently. Whoosh. A dazzling light green slash appeared out of thin air. With that sudden golden slash, banged together. Accompanied by a huge roar, an astonishing wave of air kept sweeping across, ripples followed quickly. Gia ha ha ha. Interesting. 6 postures. The whole life was floating in the air, and the Golden Lion was laughing there. But the next moment, William moved suddenly. His figure was as fast as lightning and like a ghost. It instantly turned into an afterimage and disappeared in place. Huh. An extremely sharp trajectory was drawn in midair. It flew in front of the Golden Lion, and with lightning speed, slashed across its head. Death Razor. Kang. Mars splashed. The Golden Lion's left foot is raised high, and the famous sword Muku is fixed on it. The sharp edge was blocked by a near miss. Brush. Swipe. But in the blink of an eye, there was a chilling light in midair that could tear everything apart. Constantly changing, turning back from all directions, like a murderous spiderweb, covering the prey Golden Lion. Advertisement William's figure is completely unpredictable. Dazzling at the same time. I can't help but feel my scalp tingling. Tilde clang. The Golden Lion is majestic. At the same time, he couldn't help but retreat violently. His feet turned into afterimages, constantly moving. One by one, they blocked the sharp cold light that was constantly coming, dangerous and unpredictable, and hard to guard against. It's very fast. Slash wave. Suddenly, he laughed ferociously. Locking William's figure, he swept out his right foot. Another famous sword fixed on top, Sakura Ju, cuts through the atmosphere in an instant. The extremely blazing golden slash was unstoppable. He directly forced William's figure back and narrowly escaped. But that powerful slash was completely unabated, blasting from high altitude towards the sea at least dozens of kilometers away. Boom. The sea, which was originally windless and waveless, was ruthlessly torn apart. Li Jiao. An extremely exaggerated huge trench appeared there. Extremely shocking. Death. Ito. Golden Lion hasn't had time to breathe a sigh of relief yet. Suddenly the hairs on his hair stood up, and without hesitation, his whole body retreated like lightning. Det. DKT. Cold light flashed. Shadow lines, almost invisible to the naked eye, tore past. The next moment, behind, huge mountain peaks collapsed. It was cut off without mercy. It makes people burst into cold sweat. Gulu. That's... Dr. Indigo, who had already run far away for fear of being affected, opened his eyes wide. Some couldn't believe it and let Sanji take the risk. That Black Prison William is so powerful. No wonder he was able to fight against the Admiral of Headquarters and escape unscathed. Chapter 115 Lion Majesty, Earthcoiling, an unpredictable ability. Wire. High in the air. The tall golden figure seemed to feel something. The right hand that was entangled with armament haki and became as black as ink suddenly explored. Catch a few strings that come out of nowhere. Tear. Without any politeness, he tore off the extremely sharp shadow line that could easily tear apart the human body. The Golden Lion showed an arrogant smile and looked at William in front. Gia ha ha ha, is this your ability? It's just a little trick, it's just a shame. William smiled and spoke. Since you know it's just a little trick, how dare you show your embarrassment? The Golden Lion laughed ferociously. With his right hand, he shook his hand violently. Lion Majesty. Earthcoiling, in an instant. The earth rumbled and trembled violently. Without any warning, the entire ground was lifted up, covering William. Da. Big earth coiling moves. The sky faded. The afterglow of the setting sun was completely obscured. One after another, huge and exaggerated lion heads as big as mountains appeared there. Lifelike and fierce, crushed towards William. Shadow cage. William's eyes narrowed. Black lines surge on the right hand. Brush. Swipe. Countless shadow lines shot out in all directions 270. It even penetrated those giant lion heads that were like towering giant mountains that were unattainable, constantly crushing, completely surrounding William, and about to bury him inside. Thin and sharp hatching, densely packed and overwhelming. In an instant, the entire island was covered. The entire island and even the sky were covered by shadow lines like a dragnet. Gia ha ha ha. The shadow line that enveloped him was easily cut off, and Golden Lion Shiki laughed contemptuously. It's a futile and pointless struggle, just bury it here for lousy, kid. Yeah, at this time. Very weird. William's voice. Advertisement came from behind Golden Lion. What? Golden Lion's expression changed drastically. Relying on observation hockey's prediction. The right leg is raised high, and the famous sword Sakura Ju is fixed on it. It narrowly blocked the shadow line that struck like lightning and could easily cut open the human body. You guy. William, who was supposed to be trapped and dead below, suddenly appeared in midair. Immediately afterwards, the Golden Lion was not given any breathing space at all. The seething King Cobra, the roaring sound in the air continued. The violent, swelling fist seal entangled armament hockey. It was constantly expanding and contracting, like a violent storm, overwhelming and crazy. Golden Lion kept kicking out violently. The blade fixed on it wrapped around hockey, blocking the incoming punch marks. He looked in disbelief at William, who was about 10 meters away in front of him and was attacking him with fists. Gia ha ha ha, what a weird ability, Lion, Thousand Slice Valley. He retreated violently. The legs turned into afterimages, tearing apart the atmosphere. The cold light flashed, Sakura 10 and Muku swept out continuously, cutting open the atmosphere. Whoosh! Whoosh! One after another, blazing slashes broke through the air. Blast towards William in front, murderous, ammo. In an instant, William suddenly disappeared from where he was. The dazzling slashes continued unabated, tearing apart those shadow lines and blasting into the distance. Relying on observation hockey's prediction, Kang. Golden Lion's expression changed and he almost turned around. The arms wrapped around hockey were intertwined to block the fist mark that came from behind without warning and madly. So fast. No, is it teleportation? William looked at the front in shock. The opponent's speed was too fast, and he didn't even capture its movement trajectory at all. It could only be the other party's extremely weird ability. At this time, in the Golden Lion's horrified gaze, the fist marks that went straight forward and struck like a violent storm. Suddenly, it turned and came from all the incredible blind corners. It makes people hard to guard against. Advertisement. What? The unexpected Golden Lion was directly hit by the dense fist marks. He vomited blood and flew out like a cannonball. It smashed into a mountain. Sand and dust are flying and rocks are flying. One side of the huge mountain collapsed. The entire Golden Lion is directly embedded on it. QZT. Far away. Dr. Indigo yelled. He looked at the Golden Lion that was blown away in disbelief, and then stared blankly at the incredibly young William high in the sky. How is it possible, that guy? I couldn't believe my eyes. In his mind, that ambitious and powerful great pirate, that roaring and ambitious Golden Lion. He was actually suppressed by a young brat. Gia ha ha ha. A long time, in ruins, an embarrassed figure covered in blood rushed out. The whole person was a bit bruised and bleeding, and he was no longer as high-spirited as before. The Golden Lion was floating in the sky, wiping the bloodline on the corner of his mouth. It really hurts, it's been a long time since it hurt like this. Although you have lost your sharp claws, you, a lion, still have sharp fangs. It shouldn't be limited to this. William looked directly at the embarrassed Golden Lion. He frowned and looked a little suspicious, always feeling that the other party was a little weird. Did you overestimate Golden Lion? No, he was sure that his judgment was not wrong. He could clearly feel that there was a terrifying hockey lurking in the other person's body. Although it can be exerted, it cannot be fully exerted. It just seemed like it was restricted, or that it didn't dare to be used at all. Is it the rudder on the head? William thought thoughtfully. Looking at the rudder on Golden Lion's head, he guessed something. Gia ha ha ha, hell William, right? Lousy really underestimates you, you are indeed not simple. Golden Lion looked at William in front, laughing there. Touching the rudder on his head, his eyes were full of helplessness and frustration. This thing on my head has really affected Lousy. At first, the rudder only slightly affected him. But as time goes by, the rudder has already been firmly connected with the body and even the brain nerves. Golden Lion's hockey is constantly declining, or in other words, he dares not release it with all his strength, otherwise it will damage the brain nerves and may be life-threatening. Chapter 116 Conqueror's Entanglement, Shocked Golden Lion. Boss Shiki, don't mess around. On the dilapidated floating sky island. As if he knew what Golden Lion was going to do next, Dr. Indigo in the distance changed his face and shouted. That rudder had a profound effect on the captain. In recent years, there have even been problems of confusion and Alzheimer's disease. Once he really goes all out and releases Haki unscrupulously, Kaneko's life may be in danger. Gia ha ha ha. Lousy is a Golden Lion. It's like some kind of shackles have been released. Golden Lion turned out to be full of Haki, bursting into laughter. The aura on his body is constantly rising. When did I lose the courage to fight? Crackling. An extremely powerful Haki couldn't help but overflow from his body, making people feel a little frightened. However, Golden Lion's face was a little twisted. The veins on his forehead popped out, as if he was suffering from great pain. Moreover, blood began to overflow from his head, and part of his wild golden hair like a lion was dyed red. Tear, the next moment, he directly grabbed Sakura Sheng and Shu Rong, whose legs were stopped. Pull them out and hold them in your hands. It's bloody and makes people's scalp numb. Are you finally getting serious? William smiled. Not only is there no fear. Instead, his eyes showed awe-inspiring fighting spirit. Come on, let me see the true strength of the flying pirates. Roar, he growled. The two shadow balls he carried in his arms were directly absorbed, nightmare form. Brush. In an instant, his muscles tightened and his veins popped out. His hair stood on end, his figure grew rapidly, and his skin color turned a faint blue. In the blink of an eye, it turned into a little giant 8 or 9 meters tall and impressive. With the shadows of Blue Ogre and Red Ogre, he instantly entered the nightmare form. The aura of terror exuded from his body. Bu. Witnessing this scene, Dr. Indigo in the distance was inexplicably shocked. Gia ha ha ha. Looking at William, who was completely different from before, Golden Lion laughed and said, Is this your ability? Just like a monster. Just taste it. A hoarse voice came out. William's tiger-like eyes are striking, and his figure is like electricity. He disappeared from the spot in an instant and appeared directly in front of the Golden Lion, so fast that it was exaggerated and terrifying. Huh. The violent fist seals, overwhelming the atmosphere like lightning, came fiercely. Keng. Sparks splashed. The blade blocked the incoming punch mark. Golden Lion's eyes were dazzled, and he couldn't help but retreat. But at this moment, he was grinning, full of momentum, full of Haki and confidence, and extremely arrogant. Gia ha ha ha. The speed, strength, and even Haki have all gone up a level. Advertisement. Fire King Snake. The next moment, William's aura was terrifying. Both fists turned into afterimages and were swung wildly. Waves of hot breath kept coming to my face. The fist prints violently rubbed the atmosphere, bringing out blazing fire. The exaggerated flame fist seal can't help but expand and contract with the changes of the shadow, carrying extremely terrifying power, blasting towards the Golden Lion like a violent storm. Brush. Swipe. Densely packed, overwhelming fist prints, constantly turning. Relentlessly, they bombarded them from all directions and blind spots. Tricky and ruthless, dazzling, hard to guard against. Gia ha ha ha. Boy, bring me more surprises. The Golden Lion at this moment was completely different from the previous one. Extremely wild, extremely domineering and calm. Clang. The two knives in his hands were wrapped around Haki, and he kept blocking. Although his body kept flying upside down, his whole body was safe and sound. Will William's violent offensive block them all? Suddenly the corners of William's mouth rose. His eyes sharpened suddenly, shadow binding. Between the electric light and flint, Golden Lion, floating high in the sky, didn't notice at all that his shadow was suddenly caught by a black shadow that emerged from the ground. At the same time, very strangely, the Golden Lion, who was blocking William's offensive, froze up and his sword stagnated. His expression changed drastically, and the airtight and tight defense was torn apart in an instant. What? The violent flame fist seal. It hit him directly and continuously. Wow. His whole face was distorted and he was vomiting blood. Flying out like cannonballs. But at the same time, Golden Lion is fierce. 014005424 Filu 123,220,540. The powerful observation Haki locked onto William in front, showing murderous intent. Lion hyphenation /wave. Holding the famous sword Sakura 10 in his right hand, he swung it out boldly. In an instant, the dazzling slash actually carried black and red lightning, tearing apart the atmosphere like lightning. With lightning speed and no haste, it covers the ears. Arriving with a blast. A terrifying blow. Tear away all obstacles. A large number of shadow lines were directly destroyed like a piece of cake. Unstoppable. Conquerors entangled. Asterisk. Advertisement. William's eyes were stern. With both fists together, powerful Haki flows, distorting the atmosphere. He charged out brazenly, the biggest wheel, King Goo's gun. An extremely powerful shockwave, with Conqueror's Haki carrying terror, an unstoppable slashing wave. They were blasted together hard, but there were no surprises. The terrifying slash directly destroyed and tore apart the powerful shockwave. The force of the attack continued unabated and hit William directly. Boom. The ground in front was directly torn apart. A huge ravine was revealed, Shocking, Isis. In the ruins of billowing smoke, William's embarrassed figure rushed out. Any hasty counterattack can hurt me. His clothes were in tatters, and there was a wisp of bloodline hanging from the corner of his mouth. A shocking gash appeared on his chest. He was dripping with blood and almost disemboweled. Gia ha ha ha, you're not bad either, kid. Likewise, the golden lion, covered in blood, rushed out of the ruins on the other side. Looking at William, he bared his teeth and said with a smile, "That was your ability just now, right? It actually interfered with my actions by restraining my shadow. But you only have one chance to hurt me. In front of the powerful Haki, everything is in vain." Threads of black and red lightning kept intertwining and spreading. He is wrapped around the powerful Haki, which makes people feel a little frightened. Gia ha ha ha, today Lousy will teach you a lesson for free. Only Haki is above everything else. You don't need to tell me this. I've always been clear about it. Stare the golden lion in the face without fear. William wiped the bloodline from the corner of his mouth and showed a sinister smile. Otherwise, do you think I really can't dodge the blow you just made? Lousy just wants to experience for himself the power of Conqueror's entanglement so that he can learn from it. In the golden lion's shrinking gaze, his momentum couldn't help but rise, and he clenched his fists. Could it be? Golden lion's expression changed. Looking at William in disbelief, for a moment. William's foot pressed hard. The earth cracked and collapsed, and the whole person rushed out like a cannonball. I still have to thank you, golden lion. He rushed in front of the golden lion in an instant. The huge fist seals actually stood up together. A rather powerful Conqueror's Haki suddenly overflowed and wrapped around it. Maximum Wheel True 6 King Gun, Slash Wave. Chapter 117 The Torn Sky, The Final Roar, Rumble. An unimaginable collision. The entire floating sky island was shaking violently. The black and red lightning was like a dancing dragon and snake, constantly impacting and wreaking havoc in all directions. On this island and other floating sky islands around it, a large number of indigenous people and animals who were trapped here and unable to escape immediately turned their eyes white, foamed at the mouth, and fainted. Conqueror's collision. Dr. Indigo, who barely maintained consciousness and was not knocked out, opened his eyes wide. Looking at the terrifying figure of Black Prison William in front of him, who was like a little giant, constantly confronting Golden Lion Shiki. That guy, he actually has such qualifications. Gulu. This power, it's so depressing and unbelievably strong. Far away on other floating sky islands, Wappa, Lafitte, Vanoka and others are hiding and waiting, and even Swordmaster Dragon is particularly awkward in this episode. They couldn't help but look in the direction of the main island in shock. Somewhat frightened. Hey, turn me on a little more, Golden Lion, 180. On a dilapidated island. Nightmare William, who has a dark blue complexion, is as fast as a ghost and is unparalleled in strength. He was full of fighting spirit, and all the cells in his body were jumping for joy. Grinning, extremely excited, Kang, in an instant. A tall figure. He rushed in front of the Golden Lion again. The terrifying fist seal and the gleaming blade all wrapped around the extremely tyrannical Haki, giving him a hard blow. There was a tooth-piercing, deafening sound of gold and iron clashing. What's even more shocking is, the two have no direct contact at all. In the middle, they seem to be colliding with each other through invisible barriers. Constant pushing and squeezing. Not giving in to each other. The power of terror has always had an impact. The earth was torn apart and the airwaves rolled, making it impossible to open one's eyes. Looking at the two figures who collided with an extremely shocking momentum. This is a collision in the air. Dr. Indigo was shocked and lost his voice in disbelief. This is not an ordinary Conqueror's collision. William of Hell not only has the qualifications to be a king, and also mastered the power of Conqueror's entanglement. Following Golden Lion for so many years, as the opponent's confidant, he is naturally no stranger to Conqueror's entanglement. In fact, Dr. Indigo has never seen a strong man who has mastered Conqueror's winding technique like Golden Lion. For example, in Rock's Pirate, Whitebeard, Edward Newgate and Big Mom, Charlotte 1414, who were both top leaders with Golden Lion Shiki at the time. Even the captain of Rock's Pirate, Rock's D, each of these famous pirates has monster-like strength. And all have mastered the power of Conqueror's entanglement. But how old is William of Hell? Clang, clang. Between the electric light and flint, advertisement. The two figures kept colliding and fighting. Amazing slashes, terrifying fist power, poured out continuously. The land, which was already in a mess, became devastated and destroyed beyond recognition. Batang Fire King Snake, the atmosphere was directly crushed. The hot breath makes people unbearably hot. The sky was directly dyed red by the firelight one after another. The extremely dark fist seal constantly rubbed against the air, becoming extremely red, burning with blazing flames, and entangling the powerful Conqueror's Haki. Like a greedy snake, it turns left and right, as fast as lightning. Rushing towards the Golden Lion like crazy, densely packed and dazzling. Hard to guard against. Gia ha ha ha, what a scary guy. He learned the Conqueror's entanglement technique all of a sudden, and it became more and more concise. Cold light. Two famous swords were waved continuously. Blocking William's fierce and intensive attack. Golden Lion Shiki, who seemed to be at ease and launched fierce counterattacks from time to time, was also shocked when he looked at William, who was in front of him with amazing momentum and became more and more courageous as he fought. That guy Black Prison William completely blocked Boss Shiki's attack. Dr. Indigo never expected it. When Shiki risked his life and started to release his own haki regardless of the influence of the rudder, he went all out. Hell, William was actually able to confront him head on. What a monster. He couldn't help swallowing. Is this really a 17-year-old kid? If the other party is given more time, he may really be able to match his own captain. Kang. At this time, the sound of gold and iron clashing was deafening. William and the Golden Lion were once again fiercely fighting each other through the air. There was no real contact between the fist seal and the sword edge at all, and the atmosphere was crushed. The terrifying conqueror's impact tore the earth apart again. There was a rumble in the sky. I don't know when it started, but the sky, which was already covered with dark clouds, actually split open. Woo-woo. Hoo-hoo. The two streams of clouds are clearly distinct. They are constantly squeezing and opposing each other. It was indescribably shocking, looking at this horrifying scene. Dr. Indigo opened his mouth wide. He had seen this scene more than once. In the past, Golden Lion Shiki had such phenomena often occur when fighting against Whitebeard, Roger and others. But, does that Black Prison William already have such strength? The sky is torn apart. Gulu. Is this the true strength of the Golden Lion? Advertisement. It's unbelievable that Sir William can actually contend with such a monster. On the island of Vermeo, Wappa, Lafitte, Vanoka and others. Staring blankly at the cracked sky, they all couldn't help but open their mouths. I was so shocked that I was speechless and even broke out in a cold sweat. Although observation haki has not yet awakened, but those two momentums were so terrifying that they made people breathless. But they can feel it clearly. Ah, this damn thing. A hard fight with William. They separated again, and Golden Lion, who was about to charge forward, suddenly trembled. His face was distorted, he couldn't cover his bleeding head, and he was suffering from great pain. It seems that you have been suppressing it for too long. Isn't time running out? Can't you hold it anymore? Saw this scene. William, who was not willing to be outdone and was about to charge forward, couldn't help but frown. But he did not pursue the victory again. Moment. The sweaty Golden Lion gasped in pain. His eyes were filled with terrifying bloodshot eyes. It's frightening. It seems that's the end of it, Golden Lion. William spoke calmly. That's it? Golden Lion looked at William and laughed ferociously. Lousy as a Golden Lion. The next moment, in his sharply shrinking eyes, the Golden Lion's face showed stubbornness, unwillingness, and desperate madness. He grabbed the rudder on his head and pulled it off with gritted teeth. Damn thing, don't even think about disturbing Lousy again. 1.0, Shiki boss, see the crazy moves of the Golden Lion. Dr. Indigo's complexion changed drastically and he yelled. He knew that after today, no matter you wins or loses. There is no more Golden Lion in the sea, kid. If you can push Lousy to this point, I, the Golden Lion, recognize you. Holding a pair of bloody swords, intertwined with frightening black and red lightning. Although the Golden Lion's face was covered with blood at this moment, he was like a lion swallowing up the world, looking at William with murderous intent. But you'd better die. Gia ha ha ha. The lion roars. The next moment, the extremely terrifying conqueror's haki is wrapped around the sword's edge. Shoo. The extremely fierce slash ripped through the atmosphere. It transformed into an extremely ferocious and mighty lion, opened its ferocious fangs, and roared at a speed that ordinary people could not imagine. He killed William, whose hair stood on end and suddenly changed color. Unstoppable. Chapter 118 Sick and Bloodline Factors, Lion Fruit. A small half of the main island, under this extremely terrifying blow. It was directly razed to the ground and turned into ruins. It was indescribably shocking. Gia ha ha ha, it's like a flashback. The wild lion laughs high in the sky. The floating sky islands began to shake violently. Huh. Huh. Immediately afterwards, these islands floating in the sky seemed to have suddenly lost their support, and they all fell straight from the sky. Quick, Lion Fruit's ability is disabled. Lafitte's expression changed. He caught Wapple immediately and turned into a huge white dove, fluttering its wings and flying high. Wappa next to him also directly grabbed Vanoka and took him away from the falling Vermeo. The swordsman Ryoma stepped directly into the atmosphere and stayed in midair. Crashing. Crashing. The loud noise shook the sky. The sea is boiling. The extremely exaggerated huge tsunami swept in all directions. I'm sorry, I never said I would take this blow from you. The black shadow wings suddenly fluttered. At some point, William had returned to his original state and exited the nightmare form. Except for the injuries he had suffered previously, there was no serious problem. Facing the overwhelming blow just now, he had no intention of going head-on. Ji Ju exchanged positions with the Shadow Mage, and only his shadow clone was directly killed. And he himself was safe and sound. Swipe. Shadow lines, barely visible to the naked eye, trapped the two falling figures. He grabbed them alive and pinned them high in the sky. Didn't fall. Advertisement 1 was Golden Lion, the captain of the flight control pirates, who had lost his breath of life at that moment and plummeted. The other one is Dr. Indigo, the ship's doctor of the Sky Pirates. Tut. Dr. Indigo, who was tightly bound and unable to move, was screaming there. However, the Golden Lion, who was also hanging there, covered in blood, with his bloody head hanging motionless, did not respond at all. This lion who once swallowed up the world and roared all over the world has lost all vitality. Lord William. Lafitte came with Wapple. Brush. The black shadow surged and turned into a huge black hawk, catching Wapple. Moreover, William flicked his right hand. He directly pulled the dense shadow lines and threw Golden Lion's body over. Don't delay. Recycle lion fruit immediately. Yes, Wapple has long been controlled. He immediately opened his exaggerated mouth. Swallowed the bloody corpse of the Golden Lion. Lord William. Wappa flew over with Fanoka. Looking at Dr. Indigo, who was left behind, he was a little surprised. Who is that guy? The ship's doctor and scientist of the Sky Pirates. It's still useful to keep him, William said calmly. As he said that, he glanced at the Vilmeo island, which was hit hard on the sea below. Although it was a little dilapidated, it was not completely destroyed. He couldn't help but chuckle. The IQ virus produced by the unique plants of Vermeo Island has high research value. Not only can it make animals become more ferocious and larger. And Dr. Indigo spent a lot of time changing the DNA of IQ into SIQ with even more amazing effects. William remembers clearly that this thing is like devil fruit, which can make people evolve in the direction they want. Those trapped on the floating sky island by the Golden Lion have been infected with IQ toxin for a long time because they long for freedom and hope to fly like birds and escape from the floating sky island. Under the stimulation of SIQ, feathers sprouted from his hands. In the future, I will be able to fly directly. Although evolution may take a long time due to the dose of SIQ, it is really incredible. If it can be combined with Germa's bloodline factor transformation technology, perhaps a perfect bloodline factor potion can be developed, which is a true genetic evolution fluid. William knew very well how exaggerated the physiques of real monsters like Big Mom and Kaido were. They could be said to be infinitely powerful and invulnerable. Give yourself some more time. Advertisement. He is confident that with his own talent and hard work, he will surely become a great pirate comparable to Roger and Whitebeard. But William also knew very well that although his physical fitness was far superior to that of ordinary people, he was still a human body after all. Only natural monsters like Big Mom with steel balloon-like defenses, or the strongest creatures on land, sea, and air like Kaido, can truly be unafraid of everything. Otherwise, the combat error tolerance rate will be too low. This is especially true when faced with the siege of many strong men. The fault tolerance rate in battle is too important. Well-known strong men like Whitebeard and the hero Garp are powerful, right? But if someone is careless, after being stabbed by someone, his strength will be greatly reduced immediately, he will be extremely weak, and may even be in danger of his life. And monsters like Charlotte Linlin or Kaido are incredibly powerful. Even if you stand still, or even give up your defense completely, allowing others to stab you directly. As an invulnerable steel balloon, nothing will happen at all. Although the other body is slightly weaker, it is also incredibly strong. You must have a very high-level hockey to really hurt the opponent. Even with that exaggerated recovery power, even if he is directly injured, it may only be a minor injury that will not have much impact on 463. Why F2F? That alone. The gap between these strong men can be seen. If he could become a perfect blood factor transformer like Vinsmoke Sanji in the future, he could even become a more perfect genetic warrior than him, gaining a physique and resilience comparable to those of monsters. Coupled with his Obask William's self-confidence and talent. Not only can it greatly shorten the time for your own growth. Become the real strongest in the world, will no longer be far away. Lord William, soon. Wapple spits out the Golden Lion's body directly. And in William's hand, there was a strange devil fruit. Paramecia lion fruit recycling successful. Let Robin and the others come over. Playing with the lion fruit, William looked at the turbulent sea below and the dilapidated islands. Except for the few devil fruits that he had already asked the Shadow Mage to take away in advance. Not only Vermeo's IQ plant, the Golden Lion's treasure, but also the research materials in the palace, etc., all need to be salvaged. Yes, I was lucky enough to witness this shocking battle. Wappa, Lafitte, Van Oka and others all have a deeper understanding of this great man's power. His eyes were full of admiration and awe. Chapter 119 Logia Yin Fruit and Fantasy Beast Species 9 Tails Fox Form. Did it fall from the sky? It's really exaggerated. With the arrival of the Ship of Terror, looking at the dilapidated and disfigured islands. Robin, Reiju, Nami, Brooke, Perona, Bartolomeo and others had already received William's communication and were mentally prepared. They all couldn't help but open their mouths, some were extremely shocked. Speechless. Exit. William, are you okay? William, Wappa, the swordsman Ryoma and others, who had been waiting there, returned to the terrifying ship one after another. Women like Robin, Perona, Desire and others couldn't help but feel worried when they looked at William, who was in ragged clothes and with blood on his chest, and they were busy caring about him. Don't worry. William waved his hand. It's just a little injury, I'm fine. This battle is indeed fierce. The injuries on his body cannot be said to be very minor. But it's not as heavy as expected. After all, the flying pirate's strength is no better than in his heyday. However, his gains were huge. It is not just through personal experience and observation, but also by stealing from the opponent's body and mastering the conqueror's entanglement skills. In that life and death fight, his nerves were stretched to the extreme, and his spirit was highly concentrated and excited as never before. Observation Hockey, who had already reached a bottleneck, also made a small breakthrough. Faintly touched the incredible realm, and finally touched the door. William was very sure that he was in a constant exchange of blows with the Golden Lion, which was as fast as lightning. Once, I had a vague vision of the future, very briefly. And he didn't have time to think, so he reacted instinctively. But it is true that it foresees the future. Sir William, your injuries are serious. Let me treat you. Dr. Hogbagu came forward carrying the medical kit that had been prepared. Then I'll trouble you. Tilda, he allowed Dr. Hogbagu, the ship's doctor, to treat his injuries. Pointing to the main island, which had nearly half collapsed, William sat down and directly gave orders to Wang Lun, John, Silver Axe and other zombie generals. You guys, immediately arrange for people to move the treasures on that main island. There is still half of the island that is exposed to the sea level and has not completely sunk. And it is the area where the palace ruins are located. Advertisement for him, it's obviously a good thing. At least the technical information and experimental materials. It shouldn't disappear immediately. Yes, is he the Golden Lion? It was no big deal to see William. Everyone in the Hell Pirates put down their hands one after another. Looking at the corpse brought back by the swordsman Ryoma, I was surprised. Although it is a bit risky to directly challenge such a big pirate. With a smile on his face, Luffy said, but I have to say, the harvest is too great. Robin, Nami, Brooke, Beiji Crow and others noticed that he was carrying a suitcase in his hand. Ah, the harvest is indeed not small. William smiled and nodded. Seeing that everyone was very curious, he motioned to Luffy to open the box. 6 devil fruits were presented in front of everyone. Except for the lion fruit, the other 5 devil fruits all have labels. Seen, devil fruit? There are actually so many. As expected of the legendary great pirate, look at the devil fruit inside the suitcase. Robin, Reiju, Desire, Beiji Crow, Ghostman Akin and others couldn't help but widen their eyes. Some can't believe it. Shingnan is inexplicable. Is this the Golden Lion collection? Logia Cloud Fruit, Paramecia Bomb Fruit, Paramecia Card Fruit, Dog Fruit Phantom Beast Species 9 Tails Fox Form, Cat Fruit Black Cat Form. All kinds of incredible abilities can't help but surprise them. Moreover, it actually has the rather rare abilities of Logia and Phantom Beast. Don't say it's them. Even William himself was a little surprised at first. Unexpectedly, Golden Lion actually collected the Logia Yin Fruit, as well as the Dog Fruit Phantom Beast Species 9 Tails Fox Form ability. It really surprised him. Next, advertisement for a while. Nami, Nokagao, Karina, Desire and other girls. They all couldn't help but have hot eyes, full of desire. He looked at William eagerly. Even Karina was reluctant to join at first. In the past few days, I have witnessed everything on the terrifying ship, and fully understood the strength of the Hell Pirates, especially the terrifying unendowed history of Lord William. She originally wanted to find a chance to escape, but she had already changed her original intention and made a decision secretly. After all, it was easy to enjoy the shade under the big tree. Having already boarded the pirate ship, he knew so many secrets that it would be difficult for him to escape. Since you can't resist, just lie down and enjoy it. Tilda Logia Yin Fruit, give it to you Nami. Paramecia Card Fruit, give it to Desire. Dog Fruit Phantom Beast Species 9 Tails Fox Form ability, give it to Karina. William pondered for a moment. Based on the girls' preferences, personalities, talents, etc., arrangements were made directly. In addition, take out the Paramecia Luxuriant Fruit from the warehouse and give it to Nokagao. Needless to say, the Logia Yin Fruit is a perfect match for Nami's outstanding climate talent. That girl Karina is quirky and has an excellent mind. She has extremely high talents in intelligence gathering and is most suitable for the ability of the Phantom species, the 9 Tails Fox Form. Nuo Kagao has a cheerful personality, but is also calm and aloof from the world. And if it weren't for Nami, she would actually prefer the peaceful pastoral life in the countryside. It would be a good choice to give her the Paramecia Luxuriant Fruit obtained earlier and use it to cultivate various economic plants. As for the Paramecia Card Fruit, it is somewhat special. It can create a large number of cards and control them at will. And similar to the Book Fruit, it can also seal any target into the card and summon it directly when needed. It is perfect for the Hell Pirates, who currently have too many prisoners imprisoned, causing the zombie army to be unable to expand. It would be appropriate to give it to Desire. Really? Marvelous. Lord William, I love you so much. Hearing this, Nami, Desire, Karina and other women. Their eyes shone brightly, and they excitedly rushed towards William and kissed him fiercely. This arrangement of abilities is very much in line with their wishes. Hey, please be more reserved. Perona's eyelids jumped and she put her hands on her hips and shouted dissatisfied. Sir William is her luck. These damn B****************. Chapter 120. A little test of one's skills, the cold air from the underworld. Open black lens bracket. Third update. Close black lens bracket. 3 days later. Calm belt, on the #1 training ground. Swiss. The clouds surge. The orange-haired girl, half of her body turned into clouds, kept flying over there. Iron Cloud Sword. Nami stretched out his right hand. A large amount of cloud energy gathered into iron clouds and turned into a long sword. Give it a hard shake. Wah! The extremely sharp iron cloud sword suddenly stretched out like a lion majesty and easily penetrated the wooden stake in front of it. And, under Nami's control, it turns left and right there, like a greedy snake, making it elusive. Until hundreds of meters away, it was still accurate, penetrating a thick wall and hitting the bullseye painted on it. Thunderweather. At this time, a large amount of clouds surged out. It turned into a huge dark cloud, intertwined with frightening currents. Boom! A blazing lightning struck straight down. Huge holes were blasted out of the concrete ground, which was scorched black. Tornado weather. Immediately afterwards, Nami opened his hands and continued to release cloud energy. Moreover, the whole person kept moving in midair at an astonishing speed. Woo-hoo-hoo. A large amount of clouds rolled there, producing amazing wind power. A hurricane grew bigger and bigger, turned into an astonishing tornado storm, and suddenly swept towards the sea. Crash. The sea surface was boiling and the waves were surging. The exaggerated tornado storm swept up a large amount of seawater and bent it 80 miles away. Shocking. The power of this fruit landed on the ground. Looking at his masterpiece, Nami jumped up, full of excitement. It's really great. Tisk, tisk, that's really awesome. Just by simply understanding the characteristics of the clouds on Sky Island, we can simulate it. That's right, Nami, you are becoming more and more proficient in mastering the abilities of this fruit. I watched Nami show off her abilities throughout the whole process. Robin, Reiju, Brooke, Bartolomeo and others in the distance couldn't help but marvel. They were all a little surprised and impressed by Nami's talent in developing such fruit abilities. You can actually create a tornado easily. Even Luffy, as a navigator, couldn't help but feel puzzled. No wonder Lord William chose to hand over this fruit to you. Hey, I'm not bad either. Karina on the side held her head high and was smiling. Said. A puff of smoke filled the air. Advertisement. She completely disappeared. Instead, it was William himself. Brush. The next moment, another burst of smoke appeared, and she transformed directly into Gekko Moria, one of the 7 warlords of the sea. There he smiled strangely. Hee. If he hadn't already known that Moria was dead and saw Karina transform with his own eyes. Even Perona and Hogba Gu, who are familiar with Moria, cannot easily identify it. Because in the past few days, William had used the ability to phantom to show her Gekko Moria's usual laughter, personality, demeanor, etc. Karina has been able to imitate it perfectly. I'm not bad either. Desire, who was on the side, moved his hands. A large number of cards appeared out of thin air. Keep flying. Whoosh, the cards rotated at high speed. At an astonishing speed, it kept flying out. Boom. The wooden stakes stood there one after another. One after another, they were easily cut open by those extremely sharp cards. It's frightening. Card summon. R-level card Ghost Cavalry. Suddenly, Desire had a strange card in his hand. On it, there is the word, R, marked on it, and there is a Ghost Cavalry pattern on it. Smoke filled the air. A skeleton cavalryman wearing black armor, holding a spear, riding on a tall horse, and filled with a strange black aura, appeared there. It's majestic and eerie, full of weirdness. This is. Hiss. I'm really shocked. Is this the power of the card fruit? CEFG. You can actually summon this kind of monster? Looking at the sudden appearance of the undead cavalry, everyone present could not help but be a little shocked. I'll give it a try, Nokagao chuckled. Several mediocre seeds, thrown out directly by her as luxuriant. In the blink of an eye, in the incredible eyes of everyone. Those few seeds sprouted at a speed visible to the naked eye, turned into huge tree vines, and took root on the concrete ground. And directly surrounded and entangled the tall ghost cavalry from all directions. Bang! The ghost cavalry waved their spears there, cutting off the incoming tree vines. But in a blink of an eye, those trees and vines kept popping up again. Advertisement coming around, no surprises. Although the ghost cavalry resisted vigorously, but it was still directly choked by huge tree vines that continued to grow at a speed visible to the naked eye and were strangled. It turned into smoke and disappeared. This is nothing. I have more powerful cards. See this. Desire was not disappointed either. In his hand, a card with the word SR and a ghost pattern appeared again. He threw it out directly. SR level card Ghost Commander. Dev. A puff of smoke came out. Scalp-tingling laughter echoed. A monster with a ferocious face and a huge blade in its hand appeared there, several meters tall. Full of weird and eerie atmosphere, chilling, and showed amazing strength. It tore apart those trees and vines like a piece of wood. Gah. Gah. He opened his skull with a strange smile and rushed towards the frightened Nokagao, full of murderous intent. Nami rushed to Nokagao. Just get ready to take action. Hey, Miss Nami, let me come down and show off. But suddenly, a cold light flashed. Brooks' figure suddenly rushed out. Lightning appeared behind the skeleton leader. The staff and sword, which had been unsheathed for some time, were slowly returned to their sheaths. Bai Jie sanding swallowtail slash. Without warning, the air suddenly cooled down. A freezing air that seemed to come from the underworld made everyone shiver. In their shrinking eyes, it was as if he had just come back to his senses. The skeleton leader, who was torn apart by the sword's edge, screamed in agony. The wound on the chest was filled with a chilling chill, freezing at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the end, it turned directly into smoke and disappeared. Frozen, noticing the cold remaining ice ballast on the ground, Robin lost her voice in shock. Is this the coldness of the underworld that William once mentioned? Hey, thanks to Sir William's advice, otherwise I would have thought that the effect of the underworld fruit is just to bring people back to life once. The cold air from the underworld is specially designed to restrain such gloomy and evil creatures. Chapter 121. Bloodline Factor Potion, Special Zombie Golden Lion, 4th Update. And at this moment, next to the ship of terror, a German battleship, 66, flagged the Sea Katsuyu, parked there. Judge, how's the research going? Tilda, in a spacious laboratory. William, who was wearing a medical bandage, leaned against the wall, folded his arms and asked, can SIQ and blood factor technology be perfectly combined? Completely fine, on the experimental bench. A tall figure in a white coat was observing something through a high-power microscope. The voice was somewhat excited. Lord William, this is exactly what I, or the former Vinsmoke judge, have dreamed of. He is no one else. Surprisingly, it was the special zombie judge who had traveled to Balkamoa, the future kingdom in the first half of the Grand Line, to look for the technologies that Dr. Vegapunk left in the laboratory when he was young. Early this morning, I just arrived here from New World and met up with William and others. Under William's instructions, he couldn't wait to study SIQ. As long as the research is successful, you can definitely become the most perfect blood factor modified person. Judge reluctantly put down the microscope, turned around and said to William. As a special zombie created from William's split shadow, he also directly obtained the other party's memory through Dr. Indigo's shadow. Have a more comprehensive and in-depth understanding of SIQ. Combined with the bloodline factor related technology in the brain, he was confident of creating the most perfect bloodline factor potion. How long will it take? William asked directly. He has no objection to becoming a person transformed by blood factors. Because, that is actually a genetic warrior, not a modified person like Frankie. He still has a normal flesh and blood body, but it has been greatly strengthened. Only in this way can he compete head-on with those real monsters in the shortest possible time, or even surpass them. That guy Vinsmoke Judge once conducted research in this area during his lifetime, trying to turn himself into a blood factor modified person like his children. As a special scientific research zombie, Judge said there, unfortunately, they all ended in failure. Without exception, those experimental subjects all died due to the collapse of the gene chain. Although this research failed and the project was abandoned by Germa, the experimental data sealed by Judge can save us a lot of detours. Don't worry, it will only take at most half a year, no, 3 months. Judge clenched his fists and said with confidence, in 3 months, I will be able to create the most perfect blood factor potion. Advertisement, then I'll be waiting for your good news. William nodded with satisfaction. He was looking forward to it. It was only 3 months, so he could certainly afford to wait. Thinking of something, William then asked, by the way, how is the research on Vegapunk's technologies going? A few days ago, news of an explosion suddenly occurred in the laboratory where Vegapunk stayed in his hometown, which caused quite a sensation. However, that's just an appearance. The truth is that Judge blew up the ordinary laboratory outside and found the more advanced and comprehensive secret laboratory left by Vegapunk. He also deliberately moved a lot of equipment that can be said to be very advanced even if it is placed in Germa, to his own Sea Katsuyu battleship. These technologies are simply great for me now. Judge smiled, full of excitement. I have to admit, that guy from Vegapunk is really a genius that makes people jealous. Give me some more time, and I will definitely be able to design the most perfect new generation of morphological memory armor. He prepared laser technology and some other technologies, all of which were perfectly integrated. Create the most powerful new battlesuit, then I'm looking forward to it. William, sir. Saw William returning from the sea battleship Katsuyu. Robin, Nami, Wappa, Lafitte and others rushed up. Reiju's eyes were a little complicated. She was sure that her father was no longer the Vinsmoke Judge he once was. Although she was not too sad, she was still a little confused and didn't know how to face William, the enemy who killed her father. Get ready to set sail and return to the Devil's Triangle first. If next, Judge's plan to develop a medicine that traps bloodline can be successful. Asking for flowers 0. William will be fearless and even have the confidence to directly lead his troops into the New World with great fanfare and compete head-on with those big pirates. Even if the world government finds out that Gekko Moria is dead. The big deal is just a slight change to the next development plan. Advertisement, Grand Line. Nami, Nako, Desaya, Baijiklo, Bartolomeo and other members who have never been to the Grand Line can't help but look forward to it with blazing eyes. Hogba Gu, Golden Lion's body, has it been repaired? William asked Hogba Gu. It has been completed. It took a lot of effort to perfectly connect his severed limbs. Hogbaji said with a smile. Sir William, you can resurrect it at any time now. 0. Then let's get started. William didn't delay. He led everyone directly towards the ice house of the central castle. If this time is included, this is already the 4th shadow he split. Plus or minus AAA. Less than half an hour. On the terrifying ship, a tall golden figure appeared with a majestic aura. A special zombie was born that was on the same level as the swordsman Ryoma, but even much stronger. It's not that the flying pirate Golden Lion is stronger than the dragon-slaying samurai Shimotsuki Ryoma of the past. There is no other reason, just because William has become stronger again. The split shadow naturally became stronger. Although the swordsman Ryoma and the demon Oz have amazing learning abilities, they will be able to do this sooner or later. But this time the zombie king, Golden Lion, is in one step. After perfectly swallowing the Golden Lion's shadow. Except without Paramecia Lion Fruit's abilities. The combat power that can be exerted is already close to the Golden Lion when fighting William. The only thing that made William a little regretful was that. After all, it's just a split shadow. Even with Golden Lion, the new zombie king, Haki has become much stronger compared to Majin Oz and swordsman Ryoma. But in the end, he was unable to master the Conqueror's entangled force zone like his original body. 2. Chapter 122. William's arrangement, attacking everywhere. Time flies. 10 days flew by in the blink of an eye. The huge terrifying ship passed through the calm belt, following the guidance of the lifeguard that had been prepared in the Devil's Triangle Sea in advance, and returned to this dark sea. Is this the Devil's Triangle? Looking at the foggy and gloomy surroundings. Nami, Nokagao, Baijakuluo, Bartolomeo and others were a little surprised. These days, they have already seen how exaggerated and dangerous the Grand Line's climate is. The sky was clear one moment, but it could be raining heavily the next, or it could be snow, or even hail. Huge storms, soaring sea currents, it makes people change their color. Scalp numbness. If it weren't for the extremely large island ship called the Ship of Terror, with its exaggerated size, the 893, wouldn't be afraid of most of the harsh weather in the Grand Line. If replaced by an ordinary ship, it's hard to say whether they could reach the Devil's Triangle alive. No wonder the Grand Line in East Blue is called the Pirate's Graveyard. Okay, for the next period of time, the Ship of Terror will stay in the Devil's Triangle. On the #1 training ground, William clapped his hands and said to everyone, everyone will train patiently here first, and when the preliminary work is completed, we will start to enter the new world. The team under his command has begun to take shape. Naturally, he no longer needs to go around the world to recruit people in person. However, there are several good prospects with great potential that cannot be missed so easily. Yes, William Tianren, naturally, no one would object to this boss's opinion. William looked at Lafitte and then made arrangements. Lafitte, you should be very familiar with West Blue. Next, take Wang Lun and go directly to West Blue to capture Capone Beige, the leader of the famous mafia family Capone family. Be careful, he is a user with the ability of the Paramecia fruit. Remember to wear a pair of sea stone handcuffs. Also, by the way, let's recruit the #1 killer from the underground world, named Des Bonus, the Paramecia quick/fruit user. Advertisement in West Blue. Except for Robin, who had already come to the Grand Line and was found by him, there were not many people who could get William's attention. Capone Beige is mediocre in strength, but has good abilities, and has been targeted by him for a long time. The only one left is Des Bonus, the user with the quick-cutting fruit ability who has not yet joined the Baroque Works Club. The reason for this arrangement is that although ordinary zombie generals have considerable intelligence, it is okay to let them patrol the territory and act as thugs. It's a bit difficult for them to do these more complicated things. Unless it is a special zombie created by the split shadow of William himself, it can have intelligence that is truly comparable to that of human beings, and may even surpass most people. Do not worry, Lafitte responded with a smile. When this adult was in CP9, he was already paying attention to newcomers from all over the world, and even some special ability users. So I'm not surprised by William's arrangement. After all, they had witnessed with their own eyes just how powerful William was. To recruit a few unknown newcomers, there is no need for him to take action personally. Just send them members of the Hell Pirates or zombie generals. Oka, Crow, you two take some people and go to South Blue Battle Island to recruit the 2 local gangsters, Eustace Kid and Kira. If you don't want to, use some means, it doesn't even matter if we kidnap the person back. Also, Chloe, remember not to reveal your abilities in front of others too early. When William was in CP9, he had already used the intelligence power of the world government to investigate the information about the future supernova Eustace Kid and Kira. They were born in a country that was not a member of the world government, and the island they were on was occupied by pirates. Based on the limited intelligence, William deliberately used the elimination method to investigate. Yes, Lord William, Ryoma, you are responsible for going to North Blue. William looked at Ryoma again. Find the whereabouts of the Heart Pirates and tell that Op Fruit ability user Trafalgar Law. If he joins us, I can kill Don Quijote, one of the 7 warlords of the sea, for him. The Doflamingo. Also, go to the Tartacle Kingdom and bring back Basil Hawkins. If they don't want to, use some force, with Ryoma's strength. It's more than enough to do that. Advertisement: a special servant created as a split shadow of William himself. The wisdom and abilities possessed by the swordsman Ryoma are obviously not comparable to those of zombie generals. Completely able to accomplish these things independently. What? Op fruit? Ryoma and Bator are still waiting for their response. Hogbagu's eyes widened and he couldn't help but lost his voice. Paramecia op fruit, this is the devil fruit ability that all doctors dream of. Actually got it by that Trafalgar law that William mentioned? Wappa, you go back to Sky Island. You are responsible for going to other Sky Islands to find out if there are any demon fruit powers worth paying attention to. If you can recruit them, bring them back. If you can't recruit them, bring them back. I heard that there is a monk named Uruj on a certain Sky Island. He is very powerful and seems to be an esper. If you can find him, I will bring him back. After arranging these, William thought for a moment and said directly to Wappa, you don't have to wait too long. It can take up to 2 months. If you can't find the target, you can come back. That future supernova Uruj, though in Sky Island. But he didn't know the specific information about this guy, so he had to let Wappa investigate. At Wappa's speed, 1 month is enough to cover a lot of 2.3 islands. In particular, Wappa, who has been working extremely hard and practicing hard these days, has successfully awakened observation hockey not long ago. Although it is still far from being as exaggerated as Enel's heart network. But with his talent and hard work, I believe that over time, surpassing the opponent will not be a problem. If you let him go out to find someone, he can get some exercise. Wappa was stunned and nodded slightly. It would be a good thing for him to go back. He also wanted to see if those guys on Angel Island were at peace. If he is still restless and covets the island of gods Apeado, he will no longer be polite to those guys. Others, stay on the boat and continue practicing. Chapter 123. Door Fruit. Bluno gets off to a bad start. That afternoon, Lafitte, Vanoka, Beiji Crow, Gianao Ryoma and others set off with their own men. And Wappa also took the permanent record pointer of Gaia Island directly. He turned into a flash of lightning and rushed to his hometown. Sir William. The scout team reported that a ship broke into the Devil's Triangle. The zombie soldier in charge of Den Den Mushi hurried forward to report. It carries a lot of cargo, suspected to be a merchant ship. As early as when the horror ship returned to the Devil's Sea. This sea area that has never seen the sun for many years has been completely under the surveillance of the Hell Pirates. A large number of scouts patrolled this sea area back and forth. In addition to the cover of the Devil's Mist, it is not easy to detect. Oh, William raised his eyebrows. That should be a ship that deviated from the course and accidentally broke into here? Nami said there. That's not necessarily true. Robin said with a smile. We just returned to this sea area, don't you think it's a coincidence? Along the way, the whereabouts of the terror ship were not concealed. With the intelligence capabilities of the world government, it might have already discovered that they had returned to the Grand Line and directly determined their destination through the route. It's possible that they sent people to investigate the news in advance. Perona, leave it to you, William said indifferently. With the current strict guards of the terror ship and the surveillance Den Den Mushi scattered in every corner. It may be a bit exaggerated to say that a fly flying in can be easily discovered, but if a mouse or a bird runs in, it will really be discovered at the first time. Hee hee, it will be done properly, Lord William. Perona Kaido happily. They're pirates, and they should not refuse the goods that are delivered to their door. Not long after the huge terror ship started directly. It appeared directly and silently in front of the lost merchant ship. Like a giant beast with its mouth wide open, swallowing its prey. It's a pirate, quick, turn around and run. Damn, this ship is too big. I'm a flea, sorry, I don't deserve to be a human being. I'm just the humblest dung beetle, advertisement. On the merchant ship. One panicked sailor after another. One after another, they were pierced by negative ghosts, became extremely depressed, and were easily subdued. Soon, the huge horror ship swallowed the large merchant ship. A large number of zombie soldiers began to board the ship and transport the goods. One by one, they were tied up and escorted to the horror ship. Lord William, it's just an ordinary large merchant ship. These guys are too weak and they were dealt with in a short time. Perona smiled and said to William there. Really? William did not comment. Suddenly, he seemed to feel something. Turned around and looked towards the forest. Sensing the familiar breath, the corners of his mouth rose. That's not necessarily true. Swish. The next moment, the whole person instantly disappeared in front of Perona, Robin, Bartolomeo and others. In the forest hundreds of meters away, a strange air door suddenly appeared out of thin air. Indistinctly, a green strange space was revealed inside, full of weirdness. But a tall figure just cautiously walked out from inside. Brush, without warning. William suddenly appeared in front of him. The big hand flew out like lightning, and without hesitation, it clasped onto his face, whose pupils shrank sharply, before he could change color in shock. He pressed his head hard to the ground. Bang! The ground cracked and sand and gravel flew. Bluno, whose head was bleeding and almost unconscious, could not help but widen his eyes. He looked at the imposing young figure in front of him in disbelief. Bluno, coming uninvited is not a good habit. Looking at Bluno, who lurked in quietly through the door fruit's ability, William said with a smile. If I remember correctly, you should be in the Water City. You should be an undercover agent. Did the world government send you here specially? Obviously. As an elite agent of CP9, Bluno possesses the power of the Gate Fruit and has strong lurking ability. When he suddenly appeared on the Ship of Terror, he could only be sent by the world government. It seems that those guys have become suspicious of the Hell Pirate's strange behavior in recent days. EXDE. Bluno's eyes narrowed sharply. Looking blankly at William's familiar face, he couldn't help but scream out. You are indeed hiding here. Lord William. There is an intruder, advertisement. Damn it. How on earth did you get in? Is this guy an agent sent by the world government? The zombie soldiers responsible for patrol rushed over one after another. Robin, Nami, Brooke and others also ran over one after another. Seeing Bluno being subdued by William, he was a little shocked. After getting used to it, we get used to it, but now everyone is their own master, I'm sorry. Taking the seastone handcuffs sent by his subordinates, he cuffed Bluno directly. William smiled and said, Next, I invite you to be a guest here and stay for some time. CP9 these former companions. In his plan, he can try to coax and subdue them. But for now, it is obviously impossible to make them betray the world government and follow you obediently with just a few words. It still takes some time to prepare. Unexpectedly, Bluno came to the door himself. I'm in trouble. Bluno took a deep breath, feeling helpless. At first, he thought that with the ability of his various fruits, even if he was discovered by the 7 warlords of the sea, he might not be able to escape. Unexpectedly, he was discovered by William so easily. Moreover, the opponent's speed was 160 degrees too fast, making him unable to react at all. He was subdued immediately. William, do you know him? Robin asked. He was a member of CP9, former Riot, William shrugged. Unable to resist and could only surrender, Bluno took a deep breath and looked deeply at Robin. Nico Robin, you are indeed here too. Hello, first time meeting you, Robin said with a smile. I didn't expect that you actually colluded with Gekko Moria. Bluno looked directly at William and said in a deep voice. But the world government will find out sooner or later. After he was exposed and caught by William, he never thought he could survive. After all, the name Hell William was not just blown away. How cruelly did William treat those enemies in the past? Bluno knows it very well. Really? William smiled and didn't care. He just smiled and asked, Is that girl in Khalifa okay? What do you think? Bluno asked. The close and somewhat abnormal relationship between Khalifa and William. The members of CP9 had discovered it a long time ago, but no one deliberately reported it. If they hadn't sent someone from above to interrogate him, they would have subconsciously protected Khalifa. It's just that he is so deeply involved with William, the CP9 traitor. It is impossible for the world government to let each other go. He had already been ordered to be arrested. Chapter 124. Judge's Achievements, Terrifying Evolution. A blink of an eye, 3 months passed by in a hurry. Belt, next to the dilapidated island group. One by one, Katsuyu battleships gathered there. It forms a huge castle standing on the sea, flag of Germa 66. Blowing in the wind. Lord William. A dark figure fell from the sky. Putting away the shadow wings, William looked at the tall figure in front of him who had been waiting for a long time. Judge, I have been looking forward to it for a long time, don't let me down. For 3 months. He hasn't made any big moves. He just sent someone to the Water City, took the drawings of Arc Proverbs, and placed an order with Carrera Company. No expense was spared to hire the fishman Tom's disciple to redesign it on this basis and build himself a large battleship capable of flying. But he stayed patiently on the Ship of Terror, training day and night. With part of the memory obtained from Golden Lion. Armament hockey can be said to have been honed to perfection, and has even mastered the art of internal destruction. Even the technique of Conqueror's entanglement has been mastered easily, and it is no longer as jerky and rough as when I first learned it when fighting the Golden Lion. It can be said that the strength has been greatly improved compared to the past. The only pity is that the inherent observation hockey is stuck at the bottleneck. There is still no way to predict the future. Don't worry, although there were some accidents and it took about 10 days longer than expected, it has been a complete success. Judge is full of confidence. As he said that, he moved his right hand. Please follow me. Inside Germa's underground laboratory, a circular pool no less than 10 cubic meters appeared there. Moreover, there are several huge iron ropes in the pool. All these are, looking at the green unknown solution inside, William was a little surprised. No, those are just special culture fluids added with SIQ. Judge shook his head. He directly took out a tube of dark green reagent and gestured to William, because this kind of evolution does not grow slowly, but happens overnight. Once this special blood factor medicine is injected, if you want to achieve it in a short time, if you evolve quickly, you will need a lot of nutrient solution. However, due to the transformation of bloodline factors, the process may be extremely painful. In order to prevent you from losing your mind due to the severe pain and destroying everywhere, you must be locked with 100% pure sea stone. Otherwise, not only this experimental base, but the entire castle may be destroyed. Judge added there. Furthermore, I still have to carefully remind you, Mr. William, that this kind of comprehensive transformation and enhancement of the human body's genes is full of risks. If you can't hold on during this period, you may. A nervous breakdown and a demented fool. He was acting on instructions from William. Advertisement. Fully evaluate this adult's will, body, and strength from all aspects. This special bloodline factor potion was tailor-made for him, and its effect greatly exceeded the basic version during the experiment. An ordinary person would not be able to bear it at all. The unimaginable pain may directly cause him to have a mental breakdown and directly turn him into a fool who has lost himself. For me, being stepped on by someone stronger than me and having to struggle helplessly is the most humiliating and painful thing. William waved his hand and directly interrupted Judge's words. He said firmly. Naturally, he knew very well how risky this blood factor medicine was. But I still decided to try without hesitation. If you want to become stronger, how can you not pay the price? No procrastination. William took off his casual clothes, revealing a body of extremely strong muscles. On the chest, a shallow scar can be vaguely seen, which was left by the golden lion. After more than 3 months, the traces are actually very faded. If you don't look carefully, you won't even be able to spot it. The green solution surged, and William lay inside. The researchers in Germa who were responsible for acting as Vinsmoke Judge's deputies stepped forward to lock their limbs and even their heads. Except for the handcuffs, which are made of the highest purity seastone material. Not only those thick chains, but also the material of the pool seems to be an extremely hard-shaped memory alloy. This shows how cautious Judge is. After all, a strong man like William. Once you really lose your mind and go crazy, it may indeed cause immeasurable losses. In particular, he will become the most perfect blood factor transformer. Maybe, seastone really can't be restrained. Then, I'm going to start, Lord William. Judge held up the blood factor potion. The dark green injection is full of weirdness. It makes people feel a little panicked for no reason. Come on, William's expression remained unchanged. Soon Judge inserted the needle directly into William's left arm. The tube full of dark green reagent was injected into his body at a speed visible to the naked eye. It seems, it's not a big deal. The whole person was soaked in the nutrient solution, and William raised his eyebrows. Except for a slight pain in the arm when the blood factor reagent was injected, there was no major reaction at all. Plop, plop. The next moment, his heart suddenly shook. The powerful heartbeat accelerated violently. Advertisement. The pupils suddenly dilated. His eyes were filled with terrifying bloodshot eyes. His fists were clenched suddenly, and his nails dug directly into his flesh. The blood vessels all over the body are bulging, and the veins are exposed, making people's scalp numb. Damn, it's actually so painful. His handsome face became distorted and ferocious. In countless arduous trainings, he has already sharpened his iron will. Even if he uses the mountain as a sandbag and his whole body is bruised and bloody, he does not say a word. I found that I had completely underestimated the exaggerated side effects of the blood factor potion. At this moment, as if he was completely out of control, he screamed in pain. Ah. I'm sorry, Sir William. Judge reminded loudly there, because it is not transformation during the embryonic period. This process of forcibly transforming and evolving bloodline factors directly through drugs is too harsh and will make people extremely painful, even if they are able to maintain their sanity all the time. In this basically, the painful nerves have been magnified several times, and it is impossible to simply lose consciousness and faint. But once it's over, your genes will be completely transformed and you will become the most perfect genetic warrior. Having extremely tough steel skin and an invulnerable exoskeleton, you have become infinitely powerful, and even have the ability to heal yourself beyond imagination. You can also master fire, electricity, and other special races like the Hulia tribe and the Fur tribe. Invisibility and other superpowers, and the intensity will far exceed that of IG and his brothers. Kokoka. However, veins all over his body, Dahao Jiao, popped out. A series of shocking blood vessels bulged, as if they might explode at any time. His whole body was in endless pain, and he felt that all the cells in his body were about to collapse. William was already covered in blood, and he could no longer care about him. Crash. Green solution, stained with blood. The tall and violent figure was struggling crazily. Since he is an ability user, Seastone has greatly weakened him. The limbs are even tightly bound by iron ropes made of morphological memory alloy. There was no way to break free. Go, as William's eyes turned red. The teeth were broken, drenched with blood, makes your scalp numb. The whole person almost lost his mind. It was struggling like a wild beast, roaring in pain. Not even Seastone can completely restrain his power. An unimaginable wave of Conqueror's Haki suddenly swept out, impacting in all directions. Chapter 125. Unimaginable Transformation, The Perfect Monster, 4th Update. Conca 00. 3 whole days and 3 nights. William endured unimaginable torture and pain. It would not be an exaggeration to say that it was truly painful and that life would be worse than death. He has always had perseverance and was as strong-willed as he was, and he almost suffered a mental breakdown at one point. Even if I tried countless times to lose consciousness and faint happily, I couldn't do it. Every second feels like an hour or more. His brain was sober as never before, and he was suffering from the unspeakable severe pain all the time. It's as if all the cells in the body are being torn apart and regenerated, undergoing unprecedented transformation. The entire pool filled with SIQ solution had turned into shocking blood. And his whole body was completely out of human form. The flesh and blood were blurred and disfigured, chilling. Hiss, what a terrible monster. This is simply not something humans can endure. That special SIQ nutrient solution has been administered 10 times in a row, and all of it has been swallowed and absorbed by his body, far exceeding expectations. Those scientific researchers who were knocked unconscious by Conqueror's Haki several times. Looking at the figures in the blood pool, that were tightly bound by the seastone iron ropes made of morphological memory alloy, struggling and roaring, everyone felt a little numb. I couldn't help but swallow my saliva, full of awe and fear. This kind of unimaginable pain is also an unimaginable hardship. Vinsmoke Judge lamented there. As long as he can hold on and does not suffer a mental breakdown, not only will his body be strengthened tremendously, but his spirit, will, and courage will also undergo an astonishing transformation. These are closely related to Haki. Perhaps Lord William's own Haki will also improve accordingly. Staring at William's bloody figure, he speculated. In the past 3 days, he had witnessed William's transformation. No matter how confident he was at the beginning, he still couldn't help but be a little worried. Fortunately, it will finally succeed. I do not know how long it has been. In the blood pool on the opposite side, there was suddenly no sound. William's heartbeat kept echoing like a drum. An incomparable terrifying aura can't help but emanate from his body, making people feel terrified. Finished? Saw this scene. The scientific researchers present could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. Wiping the sweat there. Crackling, however, the next moment. The blood-colored pupils were stern. Advertisement. An indescribable wave of terror suddenly swept across. Ping 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 pong. The blood-red pool exploded directly. CEAF, and countless high-precision instruments exploded one after another, flashing with amazing electric sparks. At this moment, these poor researchers, even the people on the entire Germa castle, except for the special zombie judge and his 3 cheap sons. Everyone's eyes turned white and they foamed at the mouth under the unparalleled Conqueror's impact. One by one, they lost consciousness and fainted one after another. Made of morphological memory alloy, the indestructible exaggerated iron cable breaks directly from the connection. There was only a pair of heavy, high-purity seastone handcuffs, still firmly wrapped around William's bloody limbs. That's, under Judge's shrinking eyes, William's bloody body suddenly stood up. The torn skin, muscles and other organs and tissues. In the blink of an eye, they are all recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. He is completely different from the original William. It makes people feel chilly. What a blessing, Lord William. Judge was full of excitement and shouted there, you succeeded. Huh. William couldn't help but gasp, his voice hoarse. Well, thanks to you. This feeling feels like dying countless times. If G don't want to have S*X anymore. Master William, how do you feel? Judge stepped forward and asked. Just when William showed his exaggerated recovery ability, he knew that his experiment was successful. At this moment, the man in front of him is already the most perfect person transformed by blood factors in the world. There have indeed been earth-shaking changes. Although I am extremely mentally exhausted, I do feel that power is constantly flowing out of my body. William was weak and full of exhaustion. He clasped his arms tightly, ignored Seastone's restraints, and showed a somewhat excited smile. I want to have a good sleep, don't disturb me, William finished. He closed his heavy eyelids. He didn't care about the venue at all and just lay down. Judge can be sure. This adult did not faint, but actually fell asleep. The thunderous snoring and the fact that his zombie body is not abnormal at all can prove this. This time, William slept directly for 2 days and 2 nights. When he opened his eyes, he found himself in a sleeping cabin. He stretched. Advertisement. The body made bursts of sounds like exploding beans. The golden proportion of muscle lines is enough to drive countless women crazy. There were no scars left on his whole body. He just felt more relaxed than ever before. The power in his body couldn't help but surge out, and he was more energetic than ever. This feeling is great. He clenched his fists, veins bulging out. His body started to sparkle with electric sparks. It's hard to believe, Lord William, you're awake. In the laboratory, Judge was there smiling and saying hello. Thanks a lot. William stepped down. The indestructible floor actually cracked. And his whole body seemed to have really teleported, appearing in front of Judge like lightning. This is not ability, just pure speed. Shocking. Sir William, you have already destroyed most of my place. Please don't tear it down again, otherwise it will cost a lot of money to rebuild it, Judge reminded helplessly. This was no joke. It really made him feel bad that so many valuable instruments had been destroyed. Well, I'm sorry. I can't fully grasp the sudden surge in power for a while. Taking the clothes from Judge, William shrugged. Kai. Control your power and put on your clothes. On a whim, he took a scalpel from the experimental table and slashed it directly on his right hand. The result was that the right arm was unscathed. Not even a shallow white mark could be drawn. It's incredible. I have fully inspected it. Your body is now made of copper and iron, and you even have an exoskeleton. Your strength has skyrocketed. Even if the pointed bullet hits it, as long as it is not covered with powerful hockey, I can't even do you any harm. Judge said directly. It can be said that he is invulnerable, has infinite strength, and has a terrifying self-healing ability. Furthermore, in theory, you should be able to master superpowers such as electric current and flame. Even your skin can be said to be even more exaggerated than a chameleon. It can perfectly blend with the surrounding environment and become invisible anytime and anywhere. Well, almost. Own changes. William naturally knows better than Judge. He smiled and said, I can feel it. As long as I'm willing, I can easily do this. Wah wah gg, crackling. Saying, he raised his hands. The left hand is shining with an astonishing electric current visible to the naked eye, which is constantly intertwined and shining. In his right hand, a ball of fierce flames burst out, burning blazingly there. An exaggerated scene that is shocking. Hey, it's interesting, it's really good.